Chapter 32. How could he do this to a 10-year-old little girl? Yi Han was truly a vicious and merciless person. Stop! Just as Yi Han was about to kill the girl, a slender arm swept over and blocked Yi Han's hand. Meng Yingying took this chance to hug the girl and retreat to a safe distance. Who? She actually blocked Yi Han. Everyone couldn't help but be shocked. A tall and voluptuous figure stood in front of Yi Han. She had a pair of slender and perfect legs, a pair of towering peaks, perfectly round and plump. Her appearance was peerlessly beautiful, and her temperament was noble. She was like a goddess that could take one's breath away. Meng Qinggu. How could it be her? Even though Yi Han only used 20% of his strength, it was still not something an ordinary person could block. For Meng Qinggu to be able to block his attack meant that she had most likely reached the 6th body refinement rank. This girl was actually this strong. Could it be that she had been hiding her strength all this time? Meng Yingying comforted the little girl, her eyebrows were raised and she was filled with righteous indignation. It's just a competition and you want to kill someone. Now you won't even let a child go. Are you even human? You're simply a beast. I was wondering who it was. So it's you two useless vases. Yi Han coldly laughed and said, weaklings should have the awareness of weaklings. This trash dying so quickly can only be considered lucky. You guys better pray that Chu Tian doesn't fall into my hands, otherwise you won't have this kind of luck. This bastard was simply unbearable. He even threatened to torture Chu Tian. I'll fight it out with him. Meng Yingying was angry. She clenched her fists and spirit energy blossomed. She was like an angry cub, wanting to throw herself at him without a care. Yingying. Stop. Meng Yingying looked at her sister. Her sister's face was slightly pale and her snow-white forehead was dripping with sweat as if it was very strenuous. Sister, you, Meng Qinggu shook her head as if she was enduring pain, let's go. Forget it, I'll leave this fellow for Chu Tian to deal with. Meng Yingying glared at Yi Han fiercely. Let's see how long you can be proud of yourself. Then, she left with the little girl. Yi Han became bewildered. What the hell was this? The elemental energy that Meng Yingying had just burst out in a split second was actually not the slightest bit weaker than Meng Qinggu. Was this even possible? Impossible. It must be an illusion. I must be seeing things. Meng Qinggu's expression didn't look right after blocking the attack. She was probably an arrow at the end of its flight. If Meng Yingying was really that strong, why didn't she join the competition when she was only 16 years old? Thinking so, Yi Han was relieved. At this moment, the referee walked over awkwardly. First round, Yi Han wins. Yi Han snorted and left the arena. Yi Xiong was quite a distance away, so he did not see the details clearly. However, his son's performance was ruthless and decisive, which made him very satisfied. The Ye family was a mercenary family, so they needed people who were decisive and ruthless. Yi Xiong had many children, but Yi Han's personality was the most similar to his. Eldest young master's strength has improved again. Li Changyun, who was sitting next to Yi Xiong, said with a smile. It looks like the first place of this competition will belong to him. Yi Xiong nodded and said, old Li's grandson Li Tiangang's strength isn't any weaker than Han Er's. That Du family's Du Feng isn't simple either. In the end, it's hard to say who will win. Li Changyun smiled without saying anything. Actually, everyone could see that the eldest son of the Ye family, Yi Han, Li Changyun's grandson, Li Tiangang, and Du family's eldest young master, Du Feng, were all at the peak of the 6th level of body refinement. The champion was bound to emerge. As for who it would be, it was still hard to say. Yi Xiong's deep eyes flashed a cold light as his gaze slowly fell on the west arena. Meng Qinggu and her sister just happened to walk over. Meng Yingying supported her sister. Did your old illness flare up again? Meng Qinggu helplessly nodded. Her body had always been weak. Meng Yingying knew this, but because it was a natural illness, there was no way to cure it. Meng Yingying said, "Next time, let me do it." Meng Qinggu was just about to say something. West Arena, first round, second match, Huang Gang against Chu Tian. Their eyes lit up. Had it finally arrived? On the arena, Huang Gang, seeing that it was Chu Tian, immediately said with a face full of bad luck, "I admit defeat." Tiannan City's Huang family was a small family that had just risen 2 or 3 years ago. When they saw Yi Han's strength and tyranny, they remembered what Yi Han had said before. Even if Huang Gang had 100 guts, he would not dare provoke the Ye family. Admit defeat. Consider yourself unlucky. Huang Gang fiercely glared at Chu Tian. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and resentment. Consider yourself lucky. If it wasn't for Chu Tian, he felt that with his strength, he could definitely advance several rounds. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Another 2 rounds passed. 3 rounds of group competition had ended. Chu Tian did not even make a move. Inexplicably, he passed all of them. Chu Tian bitterly smiled and shook his head. Not fighting was also good. He was too lazy to make a move. The white-haired old man announced, "The group competition has ended. Advance to the main arena." After 3 rounds of group competition, the majority of the 200 people were eliminated. Only 20 people were gathered together. The others were all upright experts that had won 3 rounds in a row. The weakest had the strength of the 5th rank of body refinement. Only Chu Tian attracted special attention. "We don't accept this. Where did this guy come from? Why did all his opponents surrender? There must be a problem. We must investigate him." Coward. What a coward. If you have the ability, then defeat your opponent fair and square. Countless people in the audience protested. There was definitely a problem with this guy. He did not even have the slightest bit of reputation. He did not even reveal a bit of his strength. How could he make 3 opponents surrender without a fight? This was practically cheating. Most likely he bribed his opponents. Make him step down. Coward. Get lost. Either fight or get lost. Don't tarnish this competition. Chu Tian scratched his head. What was this situation? Most likely they were jealous of my good looks. Now I accidentally aroused the anger of the people. Even lying down, I still got shot. At this time, Nangong Yi, Xiong Bing, Yi Xiong, Zhang Liqing, Li Changyun, and other important people all moved to the side of the arena. The previous competition was just a warm-up, eliminating a few weaklings. Now was the true competition of geniuses. Fellow young geniuses. Nangong Yi stood up and said a few polite words. Then he continued, "You are the pride of Tiannan City and also the future of Tiannan City. This mayor is very happy to sit here and personally preside over the competition. I must ensure that the competition is fair and just. I hope you all perform well and obtain the results you deserve." "Yes, Mayor." Everyone replied in unison. Nangong Yi returned to his seat and couldn't help but look at Chu Tian. He asked in a puzzled manner, who knew that kid wouldn't fight in all 3 rounds? His opponents surrendered without a fight. Could it be that he really is cheating? Zhang Liqing was sitting not far away. These past few days, he seemed to have changed into a different person. His face was glowing, as if he was 20 years younger. When he heard Nangong Yi's words, he immediately laughed and said, "Mayor's words are wrong. This person is not simple." Nangong Yi was very surprised. Does Elder Zhang know him? Zhang Liqing stroked his beard but didn't say anything. He only laughed, more than know him. Tiannan City's General Xiong Bing interrupted, "The destruction of Blackwater commerce was single-handedly driven by this kid." Humph. Yi Xiong and Li Changyun's faces turned cold. Nangong Yi remembered that he had heard this name recently. It was said that he had offended the Ye family quite badly. Nangong Yi didn't want to offend the Ye family. Those mercenaries weren't easy to deal with, so he didn't bring it up again. Du Zhentian looked at Chu Tian and didn't pay him much attention. He coldly said, at such a young age, full of tricks. He even dared to tamper with a fair and square competition. This kind of person won't amount to much. I suggest the mayor disqualify him from the competition and cripple his cultivation as a punishment. Zhang Liqing retorted. Chu Tian didn't even make a move. How does the Du family know he can't do it? Du Zhentian disdainfully said, if he really was a famous genius in Tiannan City, how could he be unknown? Zhang Liqing lightly smiled, geniuses don't have to be famous early. Let's wait and see. Nangong Yi nodded, but didn't make any decision. He thought of something and asked a servant in a low voice, where did Yunair go? The servant replied, we haven't seen the young miss since early this morning. He didn't even come to the summit. He's getting more and more out of hand. Xiong Bing also asked a deputy beside him, have you seen Tian Yan? The deputy shook his head and said, I haven't seen him. Xiong Bing revealed a strange expression. He was very clear about his little brother's personality. Every time there was a lively place, this guy was always there. Could it be that there was something that he cared about more than the Tiannan City Summit? The referee loudly announced, next match. Chu Tian against Yi Wu. Everyone's spirits rose. 3 wins without a fight. Chu Tian had attracted attention. This time, Chu Tian was facing Yi Wu. Yi Wu was Yi Han's younger cousin and also an outstanding genius. He wouldn't surrender without a fight again, would he? That was a member of the Ye family. Yi Wu looked at Yi Han with a gloomy face, cousin, I won't lose to that kid, will I? I'm a member of the Ye family. I'm afraid it's not appropriate to surrender without a fight. Yi Han thought about it and agreed. How could a member of the Ye family surrender without a fight? So he ordered, okay, break both of his arms and admit defeat. Yi Wu's eyes lit up, okay. I'll humiliate him once, then I'll ruthlessly humiliate him again. This guy will never be able to raise his head again. He'll become the laughingstock of Tiannan City. Chu Tian had already walked onto the stage. Yi Wu leaped up and floated onto the stage. His face was full of a sinister smile, a piece of trash relying on Yi Han's prestige to get here. Even pigs have learned to climb trees. Chu Tian yawned and said, you talk too much. Are you ready to admit defeat? If you want to admit defeat, then hurry up. Don't waste everyone's time. Indeed, I'm not ready to win, but that doesn't mean I'm weaker than you. Next, I'll let you understand this. Cousin said he wanted to leave you to her, but he didn't want you to be whole. Am I right? As he spoke, Yi Wu walked over step by step. His pace was very slow, letting his aura fill the air. He hoped to use his powerful aura to scare Chu Tian before he could even fight. From start to finish, Chu Tian looked calm and collected. What do you want to do? Yi Wu said word by word, don't ask for much. Your arms are enough. Chu Tian nodded silently, I'm a very fair person. Whatever others want from me, I want from them. So you should be glad that you don't ask for too much. Shameless boasting. Yi Wu was completely infuriated by Chu Tian's attitude. Did this guy not have any self-awareness? Since that was the case, then he was too lazy to talk nonsense. I've seen too many people like you who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. None of them had a good ending. The moment you chose to go against the Ye family, your fate was sealed. Pay the price. Too much talk. Chu Tian was impatient. His entire body's energy was suddenly released. His 2 legs kicked, and he fiercely attacked, soaring heaven punch. Bang! Yi Wu did not even see his shadow. A fist mixed with a strong wind suddenly whistled through the air, fiercely hitting his left shoulder. Crack! His entire shoulder bone was instantly shattered. The moment Yi Wu was sent flying, Chu Tian stretched out his hand like lightning and grabbed his left arm, pulling him back. With a forceful twist, with a crack, the bones in his arm were completely broken, twisted into the shape of a fried dough twist. Ah! No! Yi Wu screamed mournfully. His left arm was completely crippled. A person at the peak of the 5th stage did not even have the strength to fight back. He remembered what he had just said and could not help but feel extremely stupid. Crippling Chu Tian's arms? That was simply slapping himself in the face. Chu Tian pressed down on Yi Wu's right arm. I just said, I am very fair. If you want my arms, then I don't want much. I only want your arms. Stop. I admit defeat. Crack. Crack. Amidst the bone-chilling sound of breaking, Yi Wu's right arm was broken beyond recognition. Chu Tian ran him up high, raised his leg, and kicked him. Yi Wu flew 10 meters away, fell heavily on the stage, and directly fainted. Fast. Too fast. Clean, efficient, ruthless. It caused an uproar in the audience. Just a moment ago, he was still chattering non-stop, and in just 2 seconds, he was lying under the stage. Both his arms were broken in several places, and he was almost crippled. This strong contrast made everyone's eyes widen in surprise. Amazing! Amazing! It turned out that Chu Tian was not an idiot. This guy really had some skills. Chapter 33. Preposterous. Yi Xiong couldn't help but reveal an angry expression, releasing a terrifying aura. Yi Wu already admitted defeat, but he still cruelly and tyrannically crippled both of his arms. Such a blatant violation of the competition's rules is unforgivable. This child must be punished. Li Changyun hurriedly said, I suggest the mayor disqualify him and hand him over to the Ye family. When Xiong Bing heard this, he suddenly laughed out loud. That's right, I agree. The competition's rules state that if one side admits defeat, the other side can't attack again. In this case, Chu Tian should be disqualified. Zhang Liqing glared at him, wanting to stand up. Xiong Bing, Xiong Bing added, as far as I know, during the group stage, Lu Fei, who was born from a poor family, had already admitted defeat, but Yi Han killed him with one palm. Therefore, I suggest that before disqualifying Chu Tian, we first disqualify Yi Han. This is the only way to be fair. Yi Xiong's expression immediately became gloomy. Lifting a rock to smash his own foot? At this time, Zhang Liqing opened his mouth and said, Yi Wu is arrogant, he only has himself to blame. What does the mayor think? On one side were Yi Xiong and Li Changyun. On the other side were Xiong Bing and Zhang Liqing. Nangong Yi's head was about to explode. In the end, he waved his hand and said, forget it, let's not care about it. Continuing with the competition is more important. Yi Xiong could only swallow his anger. Chu Tian had humiliated the Ye family again and again, and now in front of countless people, he defeated an outstanding member of the Ye family in an instant. Yi Xiong was about to go crazy with anger. However, Yi Xiong also discovered that the strength of Chu Tian's energy was only around the 5th level of body refinement. This kind of cultivation was definitely not a match for Yi Han, who was at the peak of the 6th level of body refinement. Forget it, I won't care about it. Yi Han will definitely avenge the family's humiliation. Chu Tian wins. After Nangong Yi made the announcement, he looked at Chu Tian again. Nangong Yi keenly felt that Chu Tian seemed to be hiding his strength. This kid was not simple. The second round began, Du Feng versus Qiu Jian. Qiu Jian was a genius from a second-rate family. His cultivation base was roughly at the peak of the 5th tier. His strength was similar to Yi Wu, who had just been defeated. Du Feng was the eldest young master of the Du family. He had a cold appearance and was serious in speech and manner. Whenever he encountered an opponent, he would always finish them off with one move. Begin. Qiu Jian abruptly rushed over like a ferocious tiger pouncing on its prey or a ferocious lion hunting its prey. Origin energy brewed with every step he took, causing a large crack to appear on the ground. Under the surging origin energy, the clothes on his body emitted popping sounds that sounded like beans popping. 10 steps lion-tiger fist. This was a very domineering fist technique. Within 10 steps, with every step, the strength would increase by a fraction. When all 10 steps were completed, the energy brewed to the peak. At that time, one would be able to display a terrifying combat ability that surpassed one's cultivation base. Qiu Jian knew that Du Feng was strong, so he gave it his all from the start. Accompanied by a hysterical roar, he punched out with both fists. The sound was like the roar of a lion and tiger. The fierce wind from the fists and the strong aura instantly enveloped Du Feng, completely sealing off all paths of retreat. Du Feng did not even make a move. He let Qiu Jian finish the 10 steps, his mouth curling into a sneer. Too weak. A voice that was icy cold resounded out as his left leg abruptly stomped out while his right fist smashed out in a straight line. Its momentum was heavy like a mountain, and its strength was violent like fire. The fist hadn't even arrived, yet the wind from the fist had arrived first, and as the origin energy roiled, it actually formed a trace of flames. Burning fist. The fiery fist instantly broke through the lion and tiger, fiercely hitting Qiu Jian's chest. With a destructive force, Qiu Jian was sent flying to the edge of the stage. The speed of the attack and the ferocity of the fist technique were amazing. Bang! Countless charred pieces of clothes scattered in the air. When Qiu Jian fell to the ground, he had already lost consciousness. Du Feng wins. One move finished him off. Everyone looked at Du Feng with awe. A person who had reached the peak of the 6th rank before the age of 20, his future was limitless. In the future, it was very likely that he would break through to the awakened soul realm and become a top expert. No wonder he was the most outstanding disciple of the Du family. He was not any weaker than Yi Han. 8 Desolation's palm versus burning fist, who would be stronger? Countless spectators were excited. They could not wait to see this pinnacle battle. The third round, Li Tiangang versus Xiong Yuan. Li Tiangang was the grandson of the Alchemist Guild's president, Li Changyun. This person was not even 17 years old, but his strength was tyrannical. His wild wind kick had swept the entire competition. Up until now, no one had been able to last more than 2 seconds. Xiong Yuan was a disciple of the Tiannan city's Xiong family. The Xiong family was a military family with a high status in Zhongzhou. In the past 2 years, the Tiannan city's Xiong family had not produced any outstanding talents. Although this Xiong Yuan's strength was not bad, compared to Li Tiangang, he was still lacking. One had to know that the Alchemist Guild's network was very wide. Li Changyun thought very highly of this grandson. From a young age, he had used elixirs and medicine to build his foundation. He also hired the best martial arts teacher to train him, allowing him to have such amazing strength at such a young age. There was no suspense. The battle had just begun. Li Tiangang was the first to attack. Li Tiangang was obviously a speed-type martial artist. His wild wind kick was like a torrential storm. Xiong Yuan did not even have a chance to defend. Dozens of leg shadows whizzed in from all directions. On the spot, Xiong Yuan was seriously injured. So fast. So strong. Yi Han's palm technique was tyrannical. Du Feng's fist technique was violent and fierce. Li Tiangang's leg technique was as fast as lightning. Whether it was in terms of cultivation or martial arts, the three of them completely dominated the audience. It was not hard to predict that this year's champion would be one of the three. There was almost no suspense. At least that was what everyone thought. Xiong Bing saw that his own disciple was beaten to the point where he could not even fight back. His face quickly darkened. But the outcome of the competition was inevitable. Xiong Yuan's skill was indeed not as good as his opponent's, so he did not pursue the matter. A few more battles passed. These battles were also very intense, and many geniuses emerged. But compared to the three geniuses, these battles were not as shocking. They were only average. Nangong Yi took out the new battle list. His eyes flashed with a strange light. This round, Du Yun against Chu Tian. Du Tian laughed coldly. He won again. One of the heads of the other families immediately laughed. Du Feng, Du Yun, the Du family has produced two geniuses. Congratulations. Du Tian showed a trace of satisfaction. Du Feng and Du Yun were a pair of brothers. Du Feng's strength was the strongest, at the peak of the 6th rank. Du Yun was slightly weaker, but he was also at the 6th rank. Against a mere Chu Tian, it should be more than enough. Du Yun said to his brother, "Big brother, I'm going." "Go, don't hold back." Du Feng said coldly. "Others need to give Yi Han face, but our Du family does not. You must do a good job and make our Du family proud." "Yes, big brother." Du Yun was full of confidence. Who did Chu Tian think he was? A nobody. From the way he dealt with Yi Wu, he was probably only at the 5th rank of the body refinement realm. This guy could provoke the Ye family to this extent, and the Ye family could do nothing about it. This was the biggest joke of the year. Today, let me end this guy who gave the Ye family such a headache. Chu Tian followed the rules and walked onto the stage. Du Yun lightly tiptoed. Like a butterfly, he floated down to the stage. His lithe figure and graceful steps immediately drew cheers from the crowd. This feeling of being the center of attention made Du Yun feel very good. "Chu Tian, let's stop here." He looked at Chu Tian with a pitiful gaze. "I am not someone that trash Yi Wu can compare to. You are not my opponent. I am also too lazy to fight. I will count to 3. Get off the stage, or else bear the consequences. 3. Chu Tian looked at him with a playful gaze. He smiled and said, 10 moves. Du Yun was stunned. You think you can withstand 10 moves from me? What a joke. I can destroy you in 1 move. Chu Tian explained seriously, you misunderstood. What I mean is, I will close my eyes and let you have 10 moves. If you can even touch the corner of my clothes, then I lose. Let him have 10 moves. And with his eyes closed. Everyone was stunned. In most people's eyes, Chu Tian defeating Yi Wu was purely due to Yi Wu's carelessness. Compared to Du Yun, Yi Wu's strength was like the difference between cloud and mud. Chu Tian was shamelessly boasting that he would close his eyes and let Du Yun have 10 moves. Even if the corner of his clothes was touched, he would still lose. Even the most eye-catching 3 geniuses would not dare to say such a thing. Du Tian's face was ashen. Chu Tian's arrogance was like a slap to the face of the Du family. He stood up coldly and shouted in a low voice, enough. What are you waiting for? End the battle immediately. Don't waste too much time on a piece of trash. Yes, sir. The patriarch had spoken. Du Yun did not dare to be negligent. His right hand formed a claw and released his energy. Suddenly, he struck towards Chu Tian's chest. Sinister hand, an extremely vicious move. His first move was such a ruthless move. It was obvious that he wanted to defeat his opponent in 1 move and thoroughly destroy Chu Tian's laughable humiliation. What made everyone suck in a breath of cold air was that Chu Tian really did close his eyes. The moment the sharp claw struck, Chu Tian calmly leaned to the side and easily avoided the attack by a hair's breadth. Du Yun did not even touch the corner of Chu Tian's clothes. What? What was going on? Du Yun did not hit Chu Tian. Instead, he staggered and almost fell. His face turned red and revealed an expression of disbelief. Damn it! I don't believe it. Du Yun steadied himself and attacked again. The result was the same as before. Chu Tian seemed to be in danger, but in reality, he was able to easily avoid it. Chu Tian kindly reminded, 2 moves have passed. Du Yun angrily displayed a set of fast fists. Dense shadows of fists flew out like a torrential storm. He did not believe that Chu Tian would be able to dodge it. There was no excess movement. Not a single mistake in judgment. Chu Tian was like a graceful butterfly, leisurely shuttling through the thorny forest. With the smallest movement, with a relaxed posture, he perfectly dodged one attack after another. Everyone could not help but stare in awe. That dancing, full of beauty, was simply art. If they had not seen it with their own eyes, it would be hard to believe that such a thing could happen in this world. Chu Tian had only used the strength of a 5th-rank body refinement cultivator, yet he was able to render a 6th-rank body refinement cultivator helpless. Hyperfocus. It's the hyperfocus realm. Nangong Yi, Yi Xiong, Du Zhentian and the others all stood up. Everyone revealed a look of surprise. This hyperfocus realm was not a cultivation realm. It was more like a 1-in-a-million realm. It was a realm of the spiritual soul. None of them were awakened soul cultivators who had not grasped the profound meaning of hyperfocus. How could a youth have it? It was too inconceivable, too beyond imagination. Chapter 34. Why were there so many geniuses on the continent who could challenge those with higher cultivation levels? That was because these geniuses had other aspects that surpassed ordinary people in terms of their cultivation of origin energy. It could be due to their innate talent, profound martial arts, or the advantage of equipment. Another reason was that they had mastered an extraordinary state of mind. What was Minut's subtlety? Mind, soul, and physical senses were in perfect harmony, perfectly synchronized, allowing one to have exquisite control beyond the limits of mortals. The difference of 1 millimeter was as clear as 1 meter. Every sound of the wind, every change in the airflow, every change in the temperature, everything could be captured clearly. Every pore contraction, every muscle change, everything could be perfectly controlled. This was the legendary, intricate realm. A person who had mastered intricate could easily grasp the enemy's attacks and intentions in battle. In alchemy, smithing, or talisman crafting, it could greatly increase the success rate, perfectly accomplishing things that normal people could not. In Tiannan City, including the big shots here, there was almost no one who had mastered intricate. An unknown youth had done it. What kind of freakish feat was this? If this person went to Zhongzhou, he would definitely be the target of all the big families. Chu Tian closed his eyes and let Du Yun have 10 moves. It was not arrogance, but confidence. Du Yun had never encountered such a strange situation. He braced himself and continued to attack, but the result was the same. His opponent could always easily dodge. Du Yun's mind was already in chaos. 10 moves have passed. It's my turn. Chu Tian's energy condensed on his fingers. His 5 fingers gradually turned pale gold. Grabbing Du Yun's right arm, his 5 fingers exerted force, and energy burst out. Like a sharp knife, it directly cut into Du Yun's body, severing his meridians. Du Yun's entire arm lost its strength, as if it was paralyzed. 2 of Chu Tian's fingers on his right hand slowly turned pale gold. With extreme speed, he struck out like a torrential storm, landing on Du Yun's body. Each of his finger strikes was like a sharp blade. Diamond vein cutting finger. 1 finger to cut off a meridian. Although it was also a basic martial art. But it was very powerful and vicious. In a flash, Du Yun lost all his strength. Chu Tian lightly struck out with his palm. Du Yun was like a piece of paper, floating a few meters away and falling to the ground. Ah ah ah. I don't believe it. This is impossible. Du Yun roared as he stood up. But when he tried to revolve his spirit energy, he was shocked to discover that all the meridians in his body had been forcefully broken. At this moment, he could not even use a shred of spirit energy. Not to mention fighting, he felt that he could not even stand properly. What kind of martial art was this? How could there be such a ruthless and cunning martial art? It's over. It's over. What was going on? Chu Tian looked at Du Yun, who was on the verge of collapse, and said with a smile, "Your meridians have already been severed. If you don't receive emergency treatment within 15 minutes, or if you suffer any other serious injuries, you will become a complete cripple." Du Yun said in shock, You. Chu Tian clapped his hands and said calmly, "All right, I'm too lazy to do anything. Now, I'll count to 3. Get off the stage. If you don't, you'll have to bear the consequences." How familiar were these words? Chu Tian returned the same words to him. This was not only a fierce slap to Du Yun's face, but also a fierce slap to Du Zhentian's face. Du Zhentian's face was already flushed red. He was obviously extremely angry. That terrifying and threatening aura made it hard for the surrounding people to breathe. A strong killing intent locked onto Chu Tian. A naked threat. No words were needed. This killing intent was enough to scare a junior to the point of peeing his pants. Chu Tian did not feel it at all. He continued to count down, 3, 2, 1. Wait. Don't do it. I'll scram. I'll scram. Don't cripple me. I don't want to be a cripple. Du Yun knelt down with a plop. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, he slowly rolled off the stage. He had already given up all hope. Chu Tian was too scary. Rather than becoming a cripple, it was better to accept temporary humiliation. However, this incident was enough to create a strong psychological shadow. Even if his meridians were truly healed, it would be difficult for him to make much progress in the future. Chu Tian was not a mean and cunning person. But those who humiliate others will always be humiliated. This kind of person was not worthy of mercy. Bastard! Du Zhentian angrily roared, arrogant junior. Humiliating my Du family. I want you dead. You're wrong, I didn't humiliate you. Chu Tian looked straight into Du Zhentian's threatening eyes and said word by word, "It was you who brought this upon yourselves. Brought this upon yourselves. Brought this upon yourselves." These 4 words, each one was a blow to the heart. But thinking about it carefully, it was indeed the case. There was no way to refute it. Chu Tian dared to say such words in front of the eyes of tens of thousands of people, completely offending the Du family. He was definitely a person who did not fear death. This previously unknown youth, from now on, was destined to shake Tiannan City. Nangong Yi was stunned. How could this youth be so fearless? Xiong Bing nodded his head in satisfaction and laughed, "A proud and unyielding character, I like it." Zhang Liqing's lips curled into a smile, "Of course, this is Chu Tian's style. If he was afraid, then he wouldn't be Chu Tian." Nangong Yi looked at Xiong Bing and Zhang Liqing. Strange, these two seemed to understand Chu Tian very well. At this moment, Du Zhentian's veins were bulging and he was fuming with anger. If it wasn't for Nangong Yi being here, he would have to give the mayor some face. If it wasn't for the tens of thousands of people watching the Tiannan summit, he would have personally stepped onto the stage and killed this guy. Yi Xiong and Li Changyun looked at each other. They could see the seriousness and fear in each other's eyes. Chu Tian was even more monstrous than they had imagined. A 16 or 17-year-old who had grasped the intricate realm was unheard of in the entire central state. This person was definitely a once-in-a-hundred-years genius. They could either cripple him for the Ye family or kill him as soon as possible, even if it meant offending Zhang Liqing and Xiong Bing. Even though Chu Tian's performance was very outstanding. However, the strength that Chu Tian displayed was still around the 5th rank of body refinement. Because of the intricate realm, it was not strange for him to be able to challenge a 6th rank. The hot favorites for the championship were still Yi Han, Li Tiangang, and Du Feng. All 3 of them were at the peak of the 6th rank of body refinement, almost half a step into the 7th. Their energy was more than twice as strong as Du Yun's, and they were also the focus of their family's training. Their martial arts were also top-notch. In front of absolute speed and strength, Chu Tian had no advantage. A few more rounds passed. Yi Han, Li Tiangang, and Du Feng, with absolute advantage, easily swept away all the challengers and finally emerged from the crowd. At this point, Yi Han, Li Tiangang, and Du Feng, the three most dazzling geniuses of this year, along with the mysterious Chu Tian, the four of them had successfully advanced to the semi-finals. The final battle was about to begin. Tiannan City's genius competition was different from other competitions. The finals were not a one-on-one environment. This was because a true genius not only needed strength in a one-on-one battle, but also needed wisdom, insight, luck, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Based on the previous conferences, the final round was a mixed battle. 3 or 4 people mixed battle, no longer one-on-one. It was a comprehensive test of the contestants' abilities. The judges would rank the contestants according to their performance in battle. Of course, after the ranking was determined, if there were any contestants who were not satisfied, they could issue a challenge. The four of them rested below the stage, waiting for the finals to begin. Yi Han stared at Chu Tian like a viper. I didn't think that you would actually make it to the finals. I will keep my word, I am prepared to crush all your bones, are you ready? Chu Tian laughed, my bones are very hard, I'm afraid you won't be able to crush them. Du Feng walked over, a strange light in his eyes. Chu Tian, you hurt my brother, destroyed my family, and formed a grudge with the Du family. You must pay a heavy price for this. Have you thought it through? Chu Tian was stunned, that guy is your brother? That's right, Du Yun is my brother. Du Feng crossed his arms in front of his chest, thinking that he had intimidated Chu Tian. With a strong tone, he said, but I'll give you a chance. I'll let you join the Du family and work for them. Call out the martial arts you just used to redeem yourself, and maybe I can forgive you. Du Feng paused and looked at Yi Han, I can even protect you in the finals. I hope you know your limits. With your strength, there is no way you can escape the finals. If you want to live, you can only rely on my protection. Yi Han was very unhappy, Du Feng, you're stretching your hands too far. Let's just kill this kid. Why are you talking so much to him? Li Tiangang was full of jealousy towards Chu Tian. At such a young age, he had mastered the profound meaning of minute subtlety. No matter the outcome of today's finals, Chu Tian was destined to shine. Li Tiangang had been treated like a treasure by his grandfather since he was a child, giving him a strong sense of superiority. How could he tolerate a kid who came out of nowhere, overshadowing him? Kill. He must kill. No matter what Yi Han and Du Feng thought, Li Tiangang was ready. Chu Tian had to be eliminated. Tiannan City would not allow a second Nangong Yun to appear. This was an existence that was even better than him. This was absolutely not allowed. Li Tiangang could not accept this. These three bastards, each with their own ulterior motives, really treated me like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Why don't they weigh themselves first? Chu Tian did not say a word. He immediately closed his eyes and rested, not the least bit concerned. Chapter 35. A few minutes later, the finals began. The final battle was a free-for-all, which undoubtedly increased the difficulty. It tested the strength of the participants, as well as their ability to judge the situation and adapt to the situation. The finals that everyone has been waiting for is coming. A middle-aged judge said, however, this year's competition is slightly different from the previous years. The entire audience was filled with question marks. What? Did they change the rules? The middle-aged man announced, a familiar person will be joining the four young geniuses, adding a new variable to the finals. This is also a test for us four young geniuses. Countless people cheered. This was more interesting. The outcome of the four young geniuses was already very uncertain. Now that there was an outsider, it undoubtedly increased the number of variables in the competition. The middle-aged man shouted, "He is the champion of the last tournament, the genius from Tiannan City. Now that he has entered the Zhongzhou Academy, within a year, he has risen to the 328th place among the tens of thousands of students in the outer courtyard, Luo Yu." As soon as this was said, the crowd became excited. The champion 2 years ago was the demon Nangong Yun, and the previous champion was the genius Luo Yu. Luo Yu was not a simple person. He easily won the championship last time and then went to Zhongzhou. There had been no news of him, but now he was back. Whoosh! A white figure fell from the sky, from a height of 10 meters, straight to the center of the stage, stirring up a cloud of dust. Luo Yu! Luo Yu! Luo Yu! The crowd began to shout. It was a young man in his early 20s, wearing a spotless white warrior's robe, making him look imposing and outstanding. There was a dragon eagle pattern on his robe. The dragon eagle pattern represented Zhongzhou Academy. Luo Yu was indeed a student of Zhongzhou Academy. It was said that in the outer courtyard of Zhongzhou Academy, Luo Yu was ranked 128. One had to know that there were 10 to 20,000 students in the outer courtyard of Zhongzhou Academy. Even in Zhongzhou City, this person was probably an extraordinary genius. Yi Xiong, Li Changyun, and Du Jintian's faces turned ugly. Yi Xiong asked coldly, "Mayor, each person is only allowed to participate once. Luo Yu was the champion last time, why is he still here?" Nangong Yi laughed bitterly and said, "Everyone, please calm down. This is not my arrangement, but the arrangement of the higher-ups. You also know that the Luo family in Zhongzhou." Yi Xiong's expression softened a little. If this was really the case, then it really couldn't be blamed on Nangong Yi. Nangong Yi was just a trivial South Sky City's mayor, and the Nangong family didn't have much power in the Central State region. Even though Nangong Yi was a city's mayor, he was still hindered by all sides. Nangong Yi continued, "Luo Yu is just an outsider. The family just wants to give him another chance to shine. The true ranking of this year's Grand Assembly would still be decided by these 4 people. The Luo family has already moved out of South Sky City. What they want is a name, they won't get involved in any conflicts of interest." That was the only way. Luo Yu stood in the middle of the arena with his hands behind his back. His gaze swept across the 4 of them and he suddenly burst into laughter. This batch of geniuses is only a so-so. It seems like South Sky City has no more talented people. Don't waste my time, all of you come at me together. Everyone's faces turned ugly. This guy was really too arrogant. He didn't even put the geniuses of South Sky City in his eyes. He actually wanted to fight 1 against 4. Yi Han, Du Feng, and Li Tiangang all revealed a trace of anger. But Luo Yu's strength was indeed very strong. For someone to be able to enter the top 200 of the outer court of Zhongzhou Academy, his cultivation must have already reached the 7th body refinement realm. One-on-one, they really wouldn't be his opponent. Yi Han suddenly stood up. "I hope that before we start, we can first get rid of those small fries that don't have the qualifications to fight." Of course Luo Yu knew what Yi Han was thinking. He glanced at Chu Tian and disdainfully waved his hand. "Fine, this kind of trash really doesn't deserve to fight with me. I also know that you guys have some old grudges. I'll give you 2 minutes, is that enough?" 1 minute is enough. Okay, hurry up. From the expressions and tone of the 2 people, Chu Tian was like a fish on a chopping board. Chu Tian sighed. How could there be so many idiots in this world? Yi Han's face hung a cruel and excited smile. Finally a chance. From the moment Chu Tian ordered Nangong Yun to humiliate him, Yi Han had firmly remembered this grudge. But with Zhang Liqing, Nangong Yun, and Xiong Tianyan backing him up, Yi Han didn't dare to go looking for trouble. But now it was different. This was the Tiannan Summit Meet, a gathering of tens of thousands of people. Who would dare to interfere here? Chu Tian had ruthlessly humiliated him in front of the entire street. Now he wanted to get back at him in front of the entire city. You're just a slave. A slave will always be a slave. You can never wash your name clean. Yi Han purposely raised his voice, causing everyone's expression to change. This genius who had mastered the intricate realm was actually a slave. A mere slave. How dare he be so presumptuous? A mere slave. How dare he go against Yi Han? Yi Han continued to use words to provoke Chu Tian. You may try to deny your filthy identity, but the contract is in our hands. If you don't want to admit that you're a slave, I'll admit it for you today. Chu Tian was calm. I realized that the more ignorant and incompetent a person is, the more nonsense they talk. If you want to become a genius by talking, I'm definitely not as good as you. Yi Han couldn't contain his anger. He was trying to provoke Chu Tian, to make him lose control, to make him fearful, even if it made him angry. But why? How could he be so calm? His calm eyes were filled with a trace of mockery, as if he was looking at a ridiculous monkey. In the end, the one who lost his mind was Yi Han himself. Lowly slave. Die. Yi Han's power suddenly erupted. His robe flapped, and the surging power gathered in his arms, emitting a majestic aura. One palm strike, sweeping across all directions. 8 Desolations palm. Under the intense anger and humiliation, Yi Han unexpectedly displayed a large portion of the 8 Desolations palm's charm. Even Luo Yu's expression changed slightly. Under this terrifying aura, not to mention a weak lowly slave, even a strong martial artist like Luo Yu would be affected, and his mind would be greatly shaken. Li Changyun said in shock, Master is indeed a martial arts genius. To be able to grasp the essence of the 8 Desolations palm so quickly, I'm afraid he's already invincible among those of the same level. Yi Xiong nodded in satisfaction. Chu Tian had unintentionally helped Yi Han, allowing him to improve in his martial arts. Meng Qingguo and her sister hurriedly shouted, he's still gathering his aura. Chu Tian, hurry up and make your move. Or else it'll be too late. Chu Tian did not move, allowing his opponent to gather his aura and power. Could it be that he's scared out of his wits? Xiong Bing and Nan Gongyi furrowed their brows. Chu Tian was most likely dead. Zhang Liqing began to gather his energy. If necessary, even if it meant breaking the rules of the competition, he would personally make his move. No matter what, Chu Tian was his savior. Ha ha ha. How are you going to block me? When Yi Han's energy was gathered to its peak, his palms carried the power of 10,000 caddies, and he attacked Chu Tian. Not to mention flesh and blood, even if he was made of iron, he would not be able to escape the fate of being crushed on the spot. Chu Tian's body emitted a white glow, and his surging energy instantly exploded. Its strength had actually reached the peak of the 6th rank of body refinement. Chu Tian had been hiding his strength all along. In these few short days, Chu Tian had relied on elixirs and elixirs to greatly increase his strength. In terms of realm, he was no weaker than the 3 geniuses. It was just that he had been suppressing his aura and cultivation. Yi Han's face was ferocious. So what if you're hiding your strength? I don't believe you can take this palm of mine. Die for me. Chu Tian bent his knees and leaped up like a sharp arrow, piercing through the murderous aura that filled the air, and rushed in front of Yi Han. One leg. Only one leg. All the restraints were disintegrated. All the momentum was annihilated. With a bang, Yi Han smashed a large hole in the stone arena, and Chu Tian used one move to defeat the insufferably arrogant Yi Han. Just a moment ago, he was still full of arrogance, but in an instant, he was knocked to the ground, and he didn't even know how he lost. Didn't you want to break all the bones in my body in front of everyone? Didn't you threaten to enslave me forever? Didn't you call me trash? Who's the real trash? Yi Han completely lost the ability to resist, and his face was full of fear. No matter how he thought about it, he couldn't understand why Chu Tian, a mere slave, would have such powerful battle strength. Chu Tian's fists bombarded like a violent storm, ruthlessly breaking every inch of Yi Han's bones. Didn't Yi Han want to break Chu Tian's bones one by one? In the end, the one who ended up like this was him. What kind of irony was this? This arrogant and despotic Yi Han was reduced to a human sandbag in Chu Tian's hands. Bastard! Today, I will definitely dismember your body into 10,000 pieces. Yi Xiong carried a furious aura and leaped up, releasing a terrifying force. Chu Tian laughed wildly. If I kill him, you will kill me. If I don't kill him, you will come to kill me. At least I have to drag someone down with me. You dare. Yi Xiong released an earthen yellow essence energy, and suddenly condensed into a roaring giant wolf behind him. A terrifying might filled the entire heaven and earth. Don't dare. What a joke. There is nothing I don't dare to do in this place. Yi Han felt a biting cold murderous intent and shouted in horror, no, spare my life. Chu Tian did not even think and slammed his palm on Yi Han's skull. Yi Han did not even have the chance to make a sound and was killed on the spot. Yi Xiong was so angry that he almost fainted. Although he had a lot of sons, the one he valued the most was Yi Han. Now that he was killed by Chu Tian, how could he not be furious? Die! The earthen yellow essence energy turned into a giant palm and slammed towards the stage. An attack from an awakened soul realm cultivator. A body refinement realm cultivator did not have the ability to resist. Roar! A wild bear's roar reverberated in the air. A majestic wind snow wolf's moon origin spirit appeared. In a flash, the temperature plummeted, and the wind blew. Xiong Bing's tall and sturdy body blocked Yi Xiong's way. He punched the wind palm away. Yi Xiong angrily said, "Surnamed Xiong, you dare to block me." Xiong Bing laughed 3 times, "Your son is a treasure, but other people's sons are not. Yi Han is cruel and tyrannical, running amok in Tiannan City. I can't stand it anymore." Li Changyun released a giant blue python source spirit, "I'll help you kill the thief. President, we haven't fought for so many years, let me experience your skills." Zhang Liqing released his essence energy and a mighty eagle circled in the sky, its sharp aura filled the sky. Eagle pierces the sky, break. The eagle swooped down. The giant python was smashed into pieces on the spot. Li Changyun's face changed. He never thought that Zhang Liqing's cultivation was higher than his. Actually, Zhang Liqing's cultivation was not low. The reason why he didn't fight for so many years was because all his essence energy was used to suppress the poison. 2 days ago, Xiong Tianyan had refined the detoxification pill, and Zhang Liqing's poison was almost completely neutralized. After Zhang Liqing's spirit power was liberated, not only did he recover all of his cultivation, he even advanced a step further. The few awakened soul cultivators were ready to fight. The situation had developed far beyond their expectations. The crowd was shocked, they had never seen this kind of scene before. The fuse for all of this was just a little Chu Tian, a nameless youth. Originally it was a fight between the younger generation, but now it was a fight between awakened soul cultivators. The situation had completely spiraled out of control. Ha ha ha. The winner has not been decided yet. After killing Yi Han with his own hands, Chu Tian ignored the pressure exerted on him by the awakened soul cultivators. His arrogant attitude was still as arrogant as ever, as if he did not know what fear was. He arrogantly shouted at Luo Yu, Du Feng, and Li Tian Gang. "I don't want to waste time. You 3 pieces of trash. Come at me together." It was like a resounding slap in the face. A heavy slap to his own face. Luo Yu's face was ashen. Wasn't that what he had just said? Chu Tian was facing the threat of the awakened soul cultivators. It was as if his life was hanging by a thread. In this kind of situation, if it was a normal person, they probably wouldn't even be able to stand. Not to mention the others, just the pressure of an awakened soul cultivator was not something a physique cultivator could resist. Chu Tian didn't care, he even completely ignored it. He acted as if nothing had happened and brazenly issued a challenge to the 3 geniuses. What a delightful debt of gratitude and revenge. How heroic and courageous he was. How hot-blooded. Like a dazzling meteor, he lit up the entire sky of Tiannan City. His tyranny, his arrogance, his viciousness, his frivolity, it was as if a clap of thunder had exploded in front of everyone. Chu Tian. Chu Tian. Chu Tian. Everyone was crazily shouting this name. A once unknown, even lowly person, had now swept the entire competition, looking down on all the geniuses of Tiannan City. He had brought too many surprises and surprises. This was a world where the strong were respected. Even if one's character was as bad as Yi Han's, as long as they had talent and strength, they could still win the admiration of countless people. Not to mention that Chu Tian's status was so lowly, it made the ordinary citizens feel closer and more motivated. There was no doubt. No matter the result today, this name would forever be remembered by the citizens of Tiannan City. Chapter 36. Facing the boiling atmosphere of the summit, Luo Yu clenched his fists, his face as red as a pig's liver. Damn it. This was clearly my stage. But now it's Chu Tian's one-man show. After a year of hard work at Zhongzhou Academy, he had wanted to come back to Tiannan City to expand his influence and build a foundation for his future development. Who knew that a Chu Tian would appear out of nowhere? An even more talented genius than him. This made Luo Yu mad with jealousy. This man is cruel and savage, we cannot let him live. Luo Yu said fiercely, why don't we join forces to kill him and avenge Brother Yi? Okay. Okay. Du Feng and Li Tiangang agreed without a second thought. Of course, they did not really want to avenge Yi Han. In fact, Yi Han's death was a good thing. But Chu Tian was too scary, a genius even scarier than Nangong Yun. If they did not kill him now, when? They had to kill him. If the three of them joined forces, they could definitely take him down. I'll go first. Li Tiangang let out a loud roar as he leapt high into the air. He swept his leg horizontally from above, and his origin power transformed into a swift and fierce cyan wind from his leg. It was like a long whip, yet also like a sharp blade. It heavily lashed the ground, and the sturdy cement floor instantly cracked open. Go to hell. Li Tiangang's attack missed. His legs continued to spin in the air, sweeping like a tornado and pouring like a torrential downpour. Everywhere he passed, cement splattered, as if he had been bombarded by a cannonball. The density of his attacks was high, and the speed of his attacks was so fast that it was dazzling. The wild wind kick was as fast as the wind and as dense as the rain. It had the power to wipe out an army of 1,000. Li Tiangang suppressed him from top to bottom, while Du Feng faced the onslaught head-on. He clenched his fists and his magical energy surged, creating a spark of fire. Before his fists even arrived, the fists were already hot. Burning fist. When he saw Chu Tian's arrogant personality, Du Feng knew that he could not be controlled. Plus, he had killed the Ye family's Yi Xiong and had already made an enemy of the Ye family. If he continued to extend an olive branch, he would offend Yi Xiong. Since that was the case, why not kill him and be happy? When Du Feng and Li Tiangang attacked with all their might, Luo Yu took the opportunity to use his agile footwork to circle around to Chu Tian's back, looking for an opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Everyone couldn't help but curse. 3 people, attack 1 person together. How shameless can you be? Despicable. Chu Tian relied on his Ru Wei level keen perception and easily dodged the 2's attacks. He looked up to the sky and roared, your moves have no charm at all. With such weak strength, you dare say you can protect me in the finals? Du Feng flew into a rage out of humiliation. The wind from his fist suddenly increased in intensity as he viciously punched forward, take my fist if you have the guts. Why not? Chu Tian's right arm glowed with white essence force, and his entire arm turned slightly red. White steam seeped out of his pores, and it was obvious that he had condensed a powerful essence force. Get lost. His fist was as fast as an arrow. Its momentum was like a spear. One punch to the 9 heavens. This punch to the 9 heavens was an ordinary basic martial art. However, it had been improved by countless martial arts masters over the millennia. It was very easy to master, and it had an impressive speed and impact. It was a must-have martial art for low-level practitioners. 2 fists collided. A terrifying heat wave erupted, and the surrounding dust and gravel was lifted into the air, obscuring everyone's vision. All that could be heard was a scream. Du Feng had been thrown high into the air, and landed heavily a dozen meters away. His entire right arm was fractured into several pieces, and his flesh was a bloody mess. So weak. He had been defeated on the spot. Chu Tian leapt up to meet Li Tiangang, his leg piercing through the air filled with gaudy and powerless kicks. Like an unstoppable whip, it landed solidly on Li Tiangang's chest. Boom! Li Tiangang's body fell to the ground like a meteor, half of his body embedded in the arena. Who knew how many bones in his body were broken? With this little strength, you dare to claim to kill me? With this little strength, you dare to call yourselves geniuses? Chu Tian's voice was full of shock, and it struck everyone's heart. Yi Han, Du Feng, Li Tiangang. One move. Only one move. Everyone thought that the strongest geniuses of this year's competition were like chickens and dogs in front of Chu Tian. They could not withstand a single blow, and could be defeated in one move. At this time, Luo Yu took advantage of this rare opportunity. His right hand pulled out from his waist, and 3 feet of cold light bloomed. It was a shiny silver soft sword. Like a cunning poisonous snake, it viciously bit towards Chu Tian's back. Weapons are not allowed in the competition. This guy is cheating. 3 against 1 was already very unfair, and Luo Yu even pulled out a weapon. This was blatantly flouting the rules of the competition. Could this competition still be called a competition of geniuses? Storm of swords. Luo Yu poured his spirit energy into the flexible sword. The moment the flexible sword pierced out, it actually transformed into a large silver sword chi net. Even if it was a piece of iron blocking in front of it, it would still be pierced by the sword chi and be pierced hundreds of times. Chu Tian's heart skipped a beat. Every single silver sword image and every single strand of white sword chi were illusory and real. They interweaved with each other, causing them to be complicated and difficult to distinguish. It was worth training in Zhongzhou Academy for a year. His strength might even be stronger than the 3 of them combined. Hyperfocus. Chu Tian activated the hyperfocus state, and everything in the world slowed down. Even the slightest change could be clearly seen by Chu Tian. He easily saw through every single sword light, and used the swallow returns to nest of the shadow swallow steps to stop his body from moving forward. Then, he suddenly retreated at high speed. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A few sharp sword auras brushed past his body, and one of them left a wound on his chest. The wound was not deep, and was only a scratch. Luo Yu's eyes flashed with a hint of shock. He could even dodge that. Chu Tian was indeed a rare genius. But this made him even more determined to kill him. Die! Before Chu Tian could stabilize himself, a few more sharp sword auras flew towards him. Too dangerous. Luo Yu had the advantage of a higher realm. In terms of elemental energy, speed, and strength, Chu Tian could not win against him. Moreover, Luo Yu had a sharp weapon in his hand. If any sword aura hit him, Chu Tian would definitely die. You're dead. Wind-chasing stab. Luo Yu did not give Chu Tian the slightest chance to breathe. The flexible sword became straight after being infused with elemental energy. Like a meteor, it suddenly shot towards Chu Tian at an unbelievable speed. At the juncture of life and death, Chu Tian closed his eyes. Everyone was shocked. Could it be that? Chu Tian was unable to dodge, and was prepared to close his eyes and wait for death. The moment Chu Tian closed his eyes, a strange aura filled the air. It was as if he had opened up a higher level of senses. Although he could not see, he could feel everything around him. The flow of the wind, the change in the air, the fluctuation of the substance, the frequency of the energy, he could even feel the inner emotions of everyone present. Everything in the world, from spirit to substance, everything was clear in his heart. Seeing this, Nangong Yi's eyes widened in shock, as if he had seen a ghost. Mind's eye. It couldn't be wrong. This feeling was, mind's eye. This was definitely the mind's eye. Mind's eye was the same as hyperfocus, it was a realm of the soul. This kind of soul had no direct relation to strength, but it had an unparalleled auxiliary effect. It was the dream of many cultivators. The mind's eye was a higher level than hyperfocus. If the entire central state could not be said to have mastered hyperfocus, then the entire kingdom could not be said to have opened mind's eye. But Chu Tian did it. He was not even 18 years old. He did not even have an awakened soul realm cultivation. Tiannan City was a small place. Even if people occasionally heard of the legend of the mind's eye, they could not see it with their own eyes. Only Nangong Yi from the Nangong family could feel it. This child's future was limitless. Nangong Yi originally did not want to get involved, but the moment Chu Tian opened his mind's eye, he immediately changed his mind. No matter what, he had to protect Chu Tian. Even if he was stripped of his position as the mayor, to be able to bring back such a person for his family, it would be a great achievement. The moment Chu Tian closed his eyes, Luo Yu had a strange feeling. From the inside to the outside, from his body to his spirit, from his thoughts to his martial arts, everything was exposed in front of Chu Tian. Even the thoughts in his heart could be seen through by the opponent. What was going on? What kind of ability was this? Luo Yu was shocked, but his movements did not slow down. His sword whistled out, piercing straight towards Chu Tian. The moment Chu Tian opened his mind's eye, he had already seen through Luo Yu's entire body. His entire body was exposed, even the sword in his hand had flaws that were hard to hide. These flaws and loopholes could not be seen with the naked eye. Chu Tian gathered his spirit energy into 2 fingers on his right hand. His 2 fingers gradually turned pale gold. Just like that, he closed his eyes and waited for the sword to pierce him. Suddenly, he clamped the sword in the air. Ka! The silver soft sword was firmly clamped between the 2 golden fingers. Chu Tian gently twisted, and with a snap, the silver sword's blade was broken on the spot. Hiss! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Luo Yu stared blankly at his broken sword, unable to believe this reality. At this moment, a biting cold killing intent fiercely attacked his soul. Luo Yu began to fear, he began to fear. I admit defeat. You want my life, but if you can't beat me, then admit defeat. Do you think there is such a good thing in the world? Chu Tian gently flicked his finger, and the broken sword shot out, piercing through Luo Yu's chest like a meteor. You can only blame yourself for being too useless. Kang! Half of the silver broken sword was deeply inserted into the stone arena, and a stream of captivating red blood flowed down. No, no! Luo Yu clutched the left side of his chest that had been pierced, and fresh blood continuously spurted out. With a face full of unwillingness, he roared a few times, and then collapsed to the ground. One move. It was still one move. Chu Tian, facing a stronger opponent, facing an absolute disadvantage, easily broke his opponent's sword and defeated him in one move. He used an absolutely tyrannical manner to defeat his opponent. Chu Tian! Chu Tian! Chu Tian! Countless people once again crazily cheered. This was definitely a historical moment for Tiannan City. Yi Xiong and the others, even though they did not know the mind's eye, were extremely shocked by Chu Tian's methods. There had never been a junior that could make them feel such danger. This kid must die. Chapter 37. Yi Xiong condensed the power of the demon wolf source spirit and raised both of his hands high up. The surrounding gravel and dust were all gathered together by a strong gravitational force. In an instant, it turned into an incomparably sharp rock. It tore through the air and shot out at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye towards Chu Tian. Ho! The ice snow bear source spirit released its energy. Xiong Bing stretched out his left hand and pushed forward. The cold air condensed into an ice wall. With an ear-piercing sound, the rock fiercely pierced into the ice wall. The violent impact caused a large number of cracks to appear on the ice wall, but it did not break the ice wall. It was once again blocked by Xiong Bing. Xiong Bing. Yi Xiong gnashed his teeth as he roared, "Do you really think that I can't kill him?" A scroll full of runes slid out from his sleeve. Yi Xiong raised his hand high up. Ho! The demon wolf source spirit seemed to feel the anger of its master. It suddenly raised its claw and slapped the scroll. The brown energy instantly turned the scroll into powder. Nangong Yi, Zhang Liqing, and Xiong Bing were all shocked. What Yi Xiong destroyed, was it Chu Tian's spiritual contract? Yi Xiong's eyes turned red as he wildly laughed, "Cheap slave. Die." This was an era where slaves were very prevalent. A city with a population of 2 to 3 million might have as many as 2 to 300,000 slaves. Families with a little bit of status would almost all buy slaves to provide services, while poor families would take the initiative to sell their freedom in exchange for food and clothing. The reason why the slave trade was so popular, to a large extent, was because of safety. The slave owner had the slave's life sealed in the contract scroll. Once this slave contract was signed, it was almost impossible to remove. Whoever had the contract scroll, would be the slave's master. Once the scroll was destroyed, the slave's spirit and soul would collapse in an instant. Even if the gods descended to the mortal world, they would not be able to reverse the situation. Yi Xiong originally wanted to torture Chu Tian to death bit by bit in order to avenge the hatred in his heart. Who knew that Xiong Bing would stop him, making it impossible for him to succeed? Since that was the case, then he would directly destroy the contract. He wanted to see Chu Tian's spirit and soul crumble bit by bit, letting him wail in pain until he died in front of everyone. So what if he was gifted? So what if he was extremely talented? You will always be a lowly slave. He had humiliated the Ye family and killed their eldest son. This enmity was irreconcilable. Everyone stared blankly at the arena. 1 second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds passed. Chu Tian was still standing there, swaggering. Yi Xiong was both shocked and furious. What was going on? Why wasn't he dead yet? You didn't expect this, did you, old dog Yi? Chu Tian didn't look pained at all. Instead, he shouted even more arrogantly, "The Ye family turtles only have these despicable tricks left, but what can they do to me?" His spirit had been destroyed, how could he still be alive? This was impossible. Du Jintian couldn't stand it anymore. The threat of Chu Tian was too great. If he wasn't eliminated as soon as possible, South Sky City would have a new power in the future. Perhaps even the Du family wouldn't be able to avoid being attacked. Although the Du family didn't have any grudges with Chu Tian, to be able to suppress a potential threat, it was worth it. "Scoundrel, I'll help you." Du Jintian's source spirit was released. His source spirit was different from the others, it was a jet-black double-edged giant axe that contained a wild destructive aura. Du Jintian's hands grasped the air, holding the black giant axe that was in an illusory state, he raised it up high and heavily chopped down on the stage. Chop! Chu Tian dodged to the side. A black axe flew across the sky and chopped down on the same spot. It destroyed the arena and created a long crack, such a terrifying destructive power. Yi Xiong, Li Changyun, and Du Jintian, these three awakened soul realm experts all made a move at the same time. Just Zhang Liqing and Xiong Bing wouldn't be able to hold them back. Chu Tian's situation was very dangerous. Meng Qingguo and Meng Yingying saw this scene from afar and immediately became anxious. Chu Tian was risking his life, wasn't it all for the company? If they knew the situation would be so dangerous, they would rather not let Chu Tian be in the limelight. They would rather prevent him from entering these muddy waters. But it was too late to say anything now. What should they do? Enough. The entire square shook. An incomparably hot aura suddenly burst forth. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. The rolling sound waves made people's eardrums hurt. Do you still put me, the mayor, in your eyes? A terrifying pressure came from the earth. Red fire elemental energy soared into the sky, and an incomparably hot aura enveloped the entire area. Finally, it condensed into a giant origin soul. That origin soul looked like a volcano, and boiling hot lava was constantly spewing out, and it was surrounded by a pungent and glaring poison fog. Mayor Nangong Yi made his move. It was unexpectedly the volcano source spirit. A volcano represented the power of the earth. A volcano represented the power of nature. A sufficiently strong volcano eruption was enough to cover the entire world. It was enough to destroy all living things. It was enough to destroy an entire country. A martial artist's source spirit represented a martial artist's strength and potential. The volcano's awakening was earth-shattering. It was like a terrifying calamity was descending upon South Sky City. It made everyone's heart tremble with fear. The Nangong family all had fire-attributed source spirits. The matter of Nangong Yun awakening the god-level fire phoenix source spirit was famous throughout the entire central state. Ever since Nangong Yi became the mayor, he had been cautious and cautious. No one had seen him make a move, so they did not know Nangong Yi's true strength. They even thought that Nangong Yi was weak and incompetent. The volcano source spirit was inferior to his daughter's fire phoenix, but it was still a source spirit that contained an incomparable destructive power. If it could be cultivated to its peak state, it would not be inferior to those god-level source spirits. The power of the volcano. It was still brewing. Once this power was released, among experts of the same level, there would be no one who could match him. From Nangong Yi's aura, his strength was far above everyone else's. Even if these awakened soul cultivators attacked together, they might not be able to win. Was this the mayor's true strength? Was this the background of one of the three great families, the Nangong family? Nangong Yi changed his usual modest and refined manner and used an overbearing and unquestionable rebuke. Yi Xiong, you're being presumptuous. Every year in the South Sky City Great Assembly, casualties are unavoidable. Could it be that only your son is allowed to kill others and others are not allowed to touch your son? The volcano source spirit began to tremble, the lava within seemed to have been brewed to the point of eruption. The terrifying temperature and pressure made it hard for the people in the square to breathe. Nangong Yi said word by word, whoever dares to mess around, don't blame this mayor for being cold-blooded. Too strong. They could not resist at all. Yi Xiong, Li Changyun, and Du Zhentian's faces were filled with unwillingness, but they had no other choice. In this world, strength reigns supreme. Whoever was strong, would be the heavens. The three of them bitterly looked at Chu Tian and stiffly apologized to the mayor. They all withdrew their hands and sat back in their seats. Nangong Yi had made it clear that he wanted to protect Chu Tian. Like this, Chu Tian's life in South Sky City would not be in danger. At least as long as Nangong Yi was the mayor, the three of them would not dare to touch Chu Tian. They were really not willing. But why did the mayor suddenly become so unyielding? Yi Xiong and Du Zhentian's faces were gloomy. Finally they angrily shouted, "Let's go." The two family heads immediately left the table in protest, taking away the people who were participating in the Great Assembly. Nangong Yi withdrew the volcano's power to protect Chu Tian. He had clearly offended the two of them. Since he had already done it, he did not care too much. With a deep voice, he solemnly announced, "This South Sky City's #1 genius, I think everyone has already expected it to be Chu Tian. Chu Tian. Chu Tian." Everyone crazily shouted. Their blood was boiling for Chu Tian's rise. They were extremely excited for the mayor's strength. South Sky City was a normal city under the rule of Central State, but it had such a strong power. The rise of prosperity was just around the corner. Nangong Yi continued, according to my South Sky City's tradition, if Chu Tian obtains first place in the Great Assembly, the family or power that he belongs to will receive a year of tax exemption from South Sky City. At the same time, they will receive resources from the forest and mine. In addition, they will also receive the opportunity to be the first to speak at the summit. As soon as these words were said, the surrounding shouts suddenly quieted down. Wasn't the power that Chu Tian represented the Southern Cloud commerce? A dying, tottering commerce, what kind of sensational speech could it make? Everyone suddenly became depressed. The atmosphere of the summit had been heated up by Chu Tian. Could it be that it would end badly because of this? Under Nangong Yi's guidance, Chu Tian walked across the long red carpet and slowly walked to the center of the hall. The great assembly of geniuses had already come to an end. Now it was time for the summit's main event. The military, political, and business elites began to announce the end of the year's summary and the new strategy for the coming year. When Chu Tian stepped onto the luxurious center of the hall and faced the sea of people, he did not have any stage fright. He loudly announced, "Today, I will not speak for anyone else, because I will only speak for myself." Chu Tian continued, in front of the mayor, in front of all the citizens of South Sky City, I will solemnly announce a major event. That is, the kingdom's greatest commerce. Miracle Commerce will be officially established today. Miracle Commerce? Never heard of it. Everyone was silent. What exactly was going on? This guy was too arrogant and conceited. He actually dared to say that his commerce was the kingdom's greatest commerce. Conceited? Ah, pay. Chu Tian was an honest person. When he said these words, he really went against his conscience. He originally wanted to announce that miracle commerce would become the continent's greatest commerce, even the world's. Chu Tian did not care about the people's suspicions and discussions. He continued to loudly shout, before Miracle Commerce officially makes its debut, I want to grandly introduce its two subsidiary commerce. The commerce had just been established, and he actually wanted to establish two subsidiary commerce. Chu Tian loudly announced, first, Southern Cloud Talisman Technology Commerce. Chairman Meng Qingguo, Chief Talisman Consultant Zhang Liqing, Chief Alchemist Consultant Xiong Tianyan. Boom! The crowd was boiling. What was going on? Wasn't this Southern Cloud Commerce? A new commerce had directly swallowed up the old one. What made people even more surprised was that Zhang Liqing and Xiong Tianyan, the two famous talisman masters and alchemists in South Sky City, had actually publicly joined the tottering Southern Cloud Commerce. Chu Tian continued to loudly announce, second, Miracle Magic Food and Beverage Management Company, Limited Chairman Meng Yingying and Vice Chairman Nangong Yun. Nangong Yi and Xiong Bing were stunned for a few seconds. When they saw Xiong Tianyan, Nangong Yun, Meng Yingying, Meng Qingguo, and Zhang Liqing, they all walked onto the stage and stood behind Chu Tian. Only then did the two regain their senses. This was like a dream. Chu Tian did not give the crowd any time to breathe. Everyone must be very curious. What is Miracle Commerce? Today, I invite the Vice Chairman and Chairman of Southern Cloud Commerce, Meng Qingguo, to show everyone a few products. Chu Tian took the initiative to retreat. He secretly winked at Meng Yingying, as if saying, how was it? Brother's performance was not bad, right? Meng Yingying's black eyes suddenly flashed, the corners of her mouth curved into a happy arc. She secretly gave him a thumbs up, expressing her satisfaction and praise. Meng Qingguo slowly walked onto the stage. She changed into a snow-white robe, fully outlining her perfect figure. She was dignified and beautiful, with a noble temperament, worthy of the title of Tiannan's #1 beauty. Meng Qingguo had been in charge of Southern Cloud Commerce for 6 years. Naturally, she had seen many big and small events, but she had never been as nervous as today. Time was too rushed. From the time Chu Tian proposed the establishment of the commerce to today's official announcement, only 10 days had passed. Even if Meng Qinggu prepared day and night, it was still too rushed. The complete production line had not been completely set up. However, a few products had already been produced. At the very least, it would not be a problem to deal with today's summit. Meng Qinggu thought of this and her confidence increased. At this time, several Southern Cloud Commerce employees were carefully carrying a huge object onto the stage. It was at least 2 feet tall, and it was completely covered by a black cloth. What was this? Everyone's curiosity was aroused. Chapter 38. Meng Qinggu was a capable and efficient person. Therefore, she didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. Hello everyone, I am the Vice President of Miracle Commerce. Miracle Commerce is a chamber of commerce that is good at creating miracles. Every new product of ours will subvert old traditions and trends. Next, I would like to invite everyone to witness one of the latest research results of Miracle Commerce. It will be a great invention. It can bring light to the world. It can illuminate human civilization. Its appearance will definitely be recorded in the history of human civilization. That magnetic voice had a bewitching power. It made everyone at the scene infatuated. At the same time, it aroused everyone's curiosity. What could it be? Meng Qinggu dared to give such a high evaluation of herself. It could even be recorded in the history of human civilization. Was it really that exaggerated? Chu Tian nodded with satisfaction. The young miss was indeed the young Mississippi. Her eloquence did not lose to his. When she boasted, it made people feel comfortable all over and pleased to the eye. This is a gift from Miracle Commerce for the summit. The Miracle Tree. When Meng Qingwu said this, she personally walked to the front of the tightly wrapped black cloth. She suddenly grabbed the black cloth and forcefully lifted it. A huge object suddenly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Wow! Oh my God! What is this? Its appearance was that of a tree. It was about 6 meters tall. Most of it was made of crystal clear glass. There were pear-shaped glass balls hanging on it. At this moment, every small glass ball was blooming with bright light. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. The colors were all different. It was dazzling. What kind of treasure was this? In fact, the Chamber of Commerce spent 10 days to produce this. A total of more than 600 electric lamps of different sizes were used. The purpose was to create a gimmick at the summit and leave a deep impression. Miracle Commerce had just started. It was not perfect in all aspects. The manufacturing level and output were pitifully low. This so-called miracle tree was just a pile of crudely made things in Chu Tian's eyes. However, for people who had never seen electric lights before, the visual effect of so many colorful electric lights hanging together was very, very shocking. Meng Qinggu was also overwhelmed with emotions. Over the years, he had painstakingly defended his family business. Not to mention advancing, as long as it was not destroyed by the enemy, it was already a great blessing. He had never dared to hope for such a glorious future. This is not my ability. What I can do is to firmly grasp the opportunity, display the value that a president should have, and run the Chamber of Commerce well. Only then can I not let down that guy's efforts. As Meng Qinggu thought of this, her conviction became firmer. Her back was perfectly straight as she stood beside the radiant miracle tree. She was like a goddess shrouded in 7 colored rays of light, beautiful beyond compare. The miraculous miracle tree may be amazing, but it is not a treasure that can only be found by luck. In fact, it was just a combination of a pile of glass, copper, and other cheap materials. Not to mention the lord sitting here, even an ordinary citizen has the ability to own one. Really? Was this thing really that cheap? Meng Qinggu hung a proud smile on her face, whether it is the farmer by the field, or the street vendor, or the rich merchants and high officials sitting here, it is human nature to yearn for the light. Reading, learning, entertainment, banquets, research, our lives, all of our actions, are inseparable from the light. Therefore, the light is the ladder that guides human civilization. Only under the light can we learn and progress, can we open up civilization. Everyone was puzzled by his words. What did these principles have to do with the miracle tree? They heard Meng Qinggu continue to say, however, to the children of poor families, the light is an incomparably extravagant thing. Candles, oil lamps, relying on the sparkling light to explore. Taking our Tiannan city as an example, when night falls, 80% of the city is plunged into darkness. Most people close their doors and do not go out, which greatly affects their nightlife. If the streets and alleys of Tiannan City are filled with light, if the bars and dance halls of Tiannan City are brightly lit, if every house in Tiannan City is illuminated, we can imagine how prosperous and interesting this city will become. Miracle Commerce's goal is to illuminate the entire city within half a year. Illuminate the entire city. Such big words. The continent's most stable illumination tool is the crystal lamp, but the price of the crystal lamp is extremely expensive. The daily consumption is a large number. Only the rich and powerful would dare to use it. How could she dare to say something like illuminating the entire city? At this time, Meng Qinggu gently picked up a light bulb and held it high in her palm. Now, I will grandly introduce to everyone, this is the product that Miracle Commerce will release, electric light. Electric light? The entire audience was filled with question marks. Meng Qinggu introduced, this is a brand new illumination tool. It is safer and more convenient than candles and oil lamps. It is also more stable and cheaper than crystal lamps. Moreover, the difficulty of production is not high. I believe that electric light will cover the streets and alleys of Tiannan City. The light of the electric light will illuminate thousands of homes. Its appearance will be a milestone. Tens of thousands of people became excited. If it was really like this, it really was a great invention. The main illumination tools on the continent are oil lamps and candles. As for crystal lamps, they are made from a kind of light-attributed crystal. Through the light-attributed crystal, it emits light element, so it can produce a strong enough light. The price of crystal is very expensive because it contains too much energy. It often produces light radiation that can harm the human body. If the quality of the crystal is not pure enough, it can explode and injure people if it is used for a long time. Electric light is far more convenient than oil lamps and candles. Its price is also 1% of crystal lamps. Once this kind of thing comes out, it will definitely be crazily sought after by the market. Meng Qinggu continued, when people move around at night, they can't help but use mobile illumination tools. Currently, the main mobile illumination tools are lanterns, torches, and biological lamps. Lanterns are only suitable for cities. When mercenaries and armies go out into the wild, they mainly use torches and biological lamps. However, it is clear that these mobile illumination tools have a big flaw. Lanterns, torches, and biological lamps like the sunlight pumpkin, these lighting tools have a very obvious flaw. They can't be turned on or off at will. The light will scatter and concentrate, affecting the range of illumination. It is easy to attract demon beasts in the wild, causing danger to oneself. Therefore, we urgently need a new type of mobile illumination tool that is easy to carry, has a long range, has a stable light source, can be switched on and off at will, and is cheap to replace the traditional mobile illumination tools. Everyone's curiosity had been fully aroused. Meng Qinggu did not keep them in suspense. She gently clapped her hands and a member of the company placed a black cylinder in Meng Qinggu's hands. The black cylinder was 20 centimeters long and was wrapped in a thin metal. It was just enough to be held in one hand. Meng Qinggu raised the cylinder. What everyone is looking at right now is a portable lamp made by Miracle Commerce. It is also one of the main products that we will soon sell. We will call it the Source Energy Flashlight. Saying this, she poured spirit energy into it. The source energy array lit up and a strong light shot out from the front of the cylinder. It was like a pillar of light that swept across everyone. Meng Qinggu introduced it. The flashlight uses spirit energy to produce light. The strength of the light is controlled by the strength of the spirit energy. It can be switched on and off at will, making it very convenient. It is not hard to foresee that this kind of equipment will be widely used by mercenaries and armies. It will become an important tactical equipment for mercenaries and armies when they travel at night. It will be a great help for traveling through forests, exploring caves, traveling at night, mining, and so on. Good stuff. Xiongbing excitedly shouted as he stood up. I'll order 1,000 flashlights. I'll order 500 flashlights. I'll order 200. Miracle Commerce did not have enough production. Meng Qinggu currently only had one flashlight. How could she have the ability to deal with thousands of orders? This amount of money could not be earned for now. Miracle Commerce's lamps are still being developed and designed. Other than the source energy flashlights, we will also introduce household and public lamps. Meng Qinggu continued to introduce lamps and street lamps. Then she continued to say, we will be able to open reservations at the end of the month. If you are interested in Miracle Commerce's electric lamps, please keep an eye on Miracle Commerce's latest news. This made everyone feel excited. When everyone heard this, they all felt it was very fresh. Because in the previous Tiannan summits, when merchants announced their products, it was always pills and talismans. There had never been such a rare thing. Nangong Yi could deeply feel the prospects of the electric lamps. He was not clear on the situation in other parts of the continent, but the kingdom did not have a stable and cheap lighting tool that could compare to the electric lamps. If the electric lamps were to be mass-produced, they would sell well in the kingdom and the profit margin would be very large. This truly was a thing with great prospects. Because of time constraints, the introduction of the electric lamps will end here. If you want to know more, you are welcome to come to Miracle Commerce. We will now introduce another invention that also has a historical significance. It can completely change people's lives and improve the quality of our lives. It is the source energy pot. Source energy pot. Could it be? Nangong Yi stared at the two girls walking on stage. One was cute, pure, and beautiful, around 16 years old. The other was sexy, bold and unrestrained, around 19 years old. Weren't these Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun? Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun were very nervous. There was no need to mention Meng Yingying, she was a person who had never seen the world. Facing over 10,000 people at the same time, being able to walk was already not bad. Nangong Yun didn't look at how carefree she was, as if she wasn't afraid of the heavens or earth. But in this kind of situation, her heart was beating like a drum. Meng Qinggu warmly smiled at the two of them. These are the two chairmen of Miracle Commerce, let's invite them to talk about the magical effects of the source energy pot. Meng Yingying swallowed her saliva with difficulty. Chu Tian was looking at her from behind. Today Chu Tian and her elder sister's performance was very good, she couldn't let them down. Therefore she gritted her teeth and stood up. Ta, ta, ta. The audience burst into thunderous applause. Meng Yingying almost fainted from nervousness. She had thought of a lot of beautiful opening remarks, but she completely forgot them. She stammered out a few words, that. Source energy pot is used to make delicious food, I believe everyone will not be disappointed. Nangong Yun quickly added, right, I've prepared a lot of delicious food. It won't be convincing no matter how much I talk about it. I'll let everyone taste it for free. Everyone stared at each other. Finished speaking. But there was no introduction at all. Nangong Yun quickly waved her hand and 200-300 members of the company came out with plates. Each plate was filled with delicious meat, filling the room with a tempting fragrance. Wah! This is demon beast meat. Can I eat another piece? I've never eaten such delicious demon beast meat before. Meng Yingying and Nangong Yun saw everyone's reactions and immediately smiled at each other. Their nervous moods calmed down a lot and they became a bit more confident. Nangong Yun's courage was quite big. When she saw the food being welcomed by everyone, she immediately became full of confidence. Dad has always looked down on me. Everyone in the city thinks I'm a witch that only knows how to cause trouble. This time, I finally managed to ask Chu Tian to bring me along. I have to perform well, I can't let others look down on me, especially that hateful dad. It's just like what everyone has experienced. Nangong Yun stood up and introduced, the source energy pot is a magical invention that uses a source energy array to cook demon beast meat. It is easy to operate and very convenient. Once this invention becomes popular, demon beast meat and herbs will become delicacies for humans. I think this will be a revolutionary innovation for the continent's food and beverage industry. Nangong Yun's thoughts became smoother and smoother as she continued to introduce the source energy pot's functions. Not only can it fully develop the demon beast meat's nutrients, it can also provide a wonderful food experience. The most important thing is that it is convenient and safe. The source energy pot will definitely change people's lives. This is the great invention of miracle commerce. Meng Qinggu wanted to light up the entire city in half a year and even the entire kingdom. Nangong Yun announced that she wanted to change the entire continent's food and beverage habits. Miracle commerce, this was truly bold. Meng Yingying quickly added, everyone please pay attention, in around 2 days, the world's first source energy cooking restaurant will open. Not only will you be able to cultivate, but you will also be able to enjoy delicious food. We welcome everyone to come. Inserting advertisements was very important. Chu Tian's performance in the conference and the sensation caused by miracle commerce. The electric lamp and the source energy pot, these two successful products were enough to push miracle commerce to the forefront. They believed that on the day of the restaurant's opening, their popularity would definitely explode. Chapter 39. Miracle commerce only had these two products. If you think that way, then you are gravely mistaken. Meng Qinggu stood in the spacious hall, facing the attention of the crowd. She calmly said, the appearance of these two inventions will undoubtedly greatly improve the quality and efficiency of people's lives. It will also be enough to create a rich and powerful large-scale commerce. But the ideals of miracle commerce are not limited to this, we have even higher goals and dreams. That magnetic voice was comparable to the sirens of the mysterious straits. It had a kind of irresistible charm, causing one's heart to be enchanted, unconsciously immersing themselves in it. Miracle commerce is an enterprise that aims to promote the prosperity of the human race. Meng Qingwu's voice rose, her tone was crisp and clear, like a sharp knife cutting through ice, causing one's body to tremble. We hope to rely on our own efforts to make the human race immortal on this piece of land, to make the human race glorious forever on this piece of land, to make us create the greatest civilization in history. We hope to create a commerce that will be remembered by history. See. The entire audience was shocked. For a woman to say such words, what kind of boldness did she have? The human race was not the only race on the continent, it was not necessarily the strongest race, but it was still a top-tier race. The human race population was more than 100 billion, the human territory was vast and boundless, and the human empires were scattered everywhere. This, southern Xia, was only a small kingdom with a population of 1 to 200 million. A true top-tier existence would not even bother to take a piss in such a small place. A prefecture under the governance of a small kingdom, or to be more precise, a small merchant guild in a small city under a prefecture, actually wanted to strengthen the race as its goal. It was too idealistic. Meng Qingwu's cheeks were boiling hot. This was all taught by this fellow. This boast was definitely too big, but since there was no tax to pay for boasting and it was not against the law, then she might as well boast to death. A new commerce had just been established, it needed a lot of attention, it would not be wrong if she did not shock people to death, shouting the slogan loud and clear, it would not be wrong. Meng Qinggu was not a simple person, although it was hard for her to say it, she still raised her passion and shouted loudly, "Miracle Commerce was born to create miracles, Miracle Commerce was born to change the entire world, Miracle Commerce will not be proud of a small achievement in a small field. This is only the beginning." Pa pa pa. The audience applauded. Meng Qinggu saw that the atmosphere was just right, so she immediately returned to the main topic. Nanyun Commerce is one of the chambers of commerce that is on board the miracle ship. It is fully responsible for the research, production and sales of talismans and medicines. Today, I invite everyone to witness the brand new appearance of Nanyun Commerce. Talisman crafting and alchemy were undoubtedly one of the most profitable industries. Because it was very profitable, the competition was fierce. There were dozens of companies in Tiannan City, so it was not easy to lose them. Didn't Nanyun Commerce suffer because of this, fall apart, fall into debt, and finally fall to the point where they had to sell their buttocks? Meng Qinggu brought a chamber of commerce that was about to go bankrupt to the summit. Didn't she feel that it was degrading? Miracle Commerce announces to everyone, the latest talisman pill research results. Meng Qinggu moved her body slightly to the side, making an inviting gesture. Southern Cloud Commerce's chief talisman crafting consultant Zhang Liqing, and Southern Cloud Commerce's chief alchemy consultant Xiong Tianyan. His words reminded everyone present of what had happened. Zhang Liqing, Xiong Tianyan, these two represented Tiannan City's top-level talisman crafting and alchemy, and now they had openly joined Nanyun Commerce. Who dared to say that Nanyun Commerce was about to go bankrupt? Who dared to say that Nanyun Commerce was so poor that they had to sell their buttocks? Even if there was no mother company with a bright future, Zhang Liqing and Xiong Tianyan were enough to support Tiannan City's top alchemy and talisman crafting company. How many talisman blueprints did Zhang Liqing have? How many alchemy recipes did Xiong Tianyan have? Zhang Liqing was the president of the Talisman Guild. How many connections did he have? Xiong Tianyan was an elder of the Alchemist Guild, as well as one of the bosses behind Tiannan City's alchemy market. How many resources did he have? Under the strong alliance, not to mention Nanyun Commerce's background, even if it was a naked chamber of commerce, it could still become a powerful existence in Tiannan City. Zhang Liqing slowly walked onto the stage. This old man, who used to wear a plain gray robe, looked skinny and haggard, was now wearing a very formal robe. His face was ruddy, his spirit was hale and hearty, as if he was 10 years younger. Master Zhang! Master Zhang! Master Zhang! Countless people excitedly cheered. Zhang Liqing's position in Tiannan City was very high, he was the idol of countless young people. Zhang Liqing revealed a gentle smile, both hands placating the boiling crowd. After everyone calmed down, he slowly spoke with a slightly hoarse voice, although his tone was low, it was clear and powerful. First of all, to be able to stand here, I want to thank Miracle Commerce. I am officially indebted to the President's care, allowing this old and useless body of mine to stand up again, to play a small role. To let this old man whose body is half buried in the soil, obtain a new opportunity and development. Thank you Miracle Commerce, thank you President. He suddenly turned his head, and solemnly bowed to Chu Tian and the others. Too crazy. Too shocking. This was an awakened soul cultivator. This was a talisman master. To be able to do this, it really made people admire him. Zhang Liqing continued to say, to tell the truth, I am already very old, so old that I can't keep up with the times. What the future will be like, I may not be able to see it. But, I will do my best, adding bricks and tiles to Miracle Commerce, using my life's knowledge, to make a final contribution to the kingdom. The audience burst into a wave of applause. Look at him, the demeanor of a scholar, really too humble. A master belittling himself to elevate the company, just this point was enough to make the headlines of tomorrow's newspapers. At this time, several members of the Talisman Master Guild, holding an incomparably large scroll walked onto the stage, in front of countless people. They slowly unfolded the scroll, a complex and exquisite, like a piece of art, perfectly presented itself in front of everyone. Was this a talisman design? It was simply like an art. Nangong Yi, Xiong Bing's eyes stared straight. This is the new talisman design that this old man has painstakingly researched for 2 years. Finally, with the help of Miracle Commerce, this level 1 talisman, rock skin, is exclusively produced and sold by Southern Cloud Commerce. This will be the most outstanding level 1 talisman in Central State, or even the kingdom, in the past 10 years. This rock skin talisman is very easy to control. There are no side effects. It can make one's skin as hard as rock, easily resist fire, reduce attacks, slashes, and damage from long and short-range weapons. This is a very practical talisman. I believe that in the talisman market, it will definitely be able to occupy a place. Zhang Liqing began to speak eloquently. From academic to practical, he introduced the rock skin from different angles. This made everyone shocked. This really was a wonderful design. Its effect and technology was many years ahead of its time. Southern Cloud Commerce had not been able to expand for many years. One reason was because they were being suppressed by their competitors, but the main reason was because their talisman products were too outdated. Talismans were a kind of thing that changed very quickly. Even if it was the same type, or even the same type of talisman, every year there would be a new improved version. The appearance of a new improved version meant that the old version would be eliminated from the market. Southern Cloud Commerce did not have a powerful talisman master. They did not have enough funds to introduce new designs. They mainly focused on traditional talismans that were difficult to improve, conforming to the norm, without any special features. They lacked competitiveness. But now it was different. The rock skin talisman was unique to Southern Cloud Commerce. It was also many years ahead of time, making it impossible for other commerce to imitate it, let alone surpass it. This meant that Southern Cloud Commerce had a fist-level product, completely changing the passive-defensive situation. They had the ability and qualifications to launch a fierce counterattack against opponents like Wolf Fang Commerce. Zhang Liqing finished announcing the new talisman product. Xiong Tianyan immediately walked out. Friends, fellow citizens, hello everyone, I am Xiong Tianyan of the Alchemist Association. I am currently the chief pharmaceutical consultant of Southern Cloud Commerce. Xiong Tianyan's reputation could not compare to Zhang Liqing's. But, this person's potential was extremely strong. Xiong Tianyan was only 30-something years old. He had already achieved very impressive results in the field of alchemy. His strength was also extremely tyrannical. Given time, his future was limitless. I am a rough person, I don't really know how to speak. Xiong Tianyan's loud and clear voice reverberated throughout the hall. I only want to say one thing, Miracle Commerce is definitely a great organization. I did not choose Miracle Commerce. I still do not have the qualifications. It was Miracle Commerce that chose me. For this, I am deeply honored, but also feel heavy pressure, because my ability is not enough to bear this glory. Xiong Bing's face was filled with astonishment. When did this guy become so humble? This was impossible. How could Xiong Bing not understand his own little brother? This guy's personality was like a barrel of gunpowder, and he was also quite arrogant. These kinds of words should not come out of his mouth. Xiong Tianyan continued to announce in a clear voice, let's cut the nonsense. I will announce Nanyun Commerce's new type of pills. Nanyun Commerce will release 2 new types of pills. They are the Crimson Lotus Pill and the Training Qi Pill. The Crimson Lotus Pill was a rare emergency medicine. The Training Qi Pill was a rare and priceless elixir. Chu Tian did not take out other pills and talismans, mainly because Tiannan City was barren, special talisman and alchemy materials could not be found, so he did not know what kind of talisman could be made and what kind of pills could be refined. Secondly, the 2 big industries, talisman and alchemy, had already formed a very mature market. The cake had basically been divided up by everyone. Nanyun Commerce's sudden rise would definitely take away other people's cake. As the saying goes, cutting off one's path to wealth is like killing one's parents. Before the commerce's strength was strong enough, if their performance was too eye-catching, to the point of not giving other commerce a chance to survive, then the consequences would be hard to say. Even a rabbit would bite when cornered, not to mention these old foxes. First releasing 2 or 3 products, Not only could they increase Nanyun Commerce's reputation, but they would also not force the other forces into a dead end. Once Miracle Commerce had a firm foothold, they would slowly nibble away bit by bit, using the method of boiling a frog in warm water, breaking down the other commerce's resistance. When they came back to their senses, it would already be too late. My God! Is this true? Even the worst trash can use the training chi pill to become a body refinement cultivator. The side effects of the Crimson Lotus pill are really this light. Our mercenary group must buy a large batch. The products released by Nanyun Commerce also caused a sensation at the summit. At this point, Tian Nan Summit meeting became a one-man show for Miracle Commerce. Layer after layer of shock. Layer after layer of climax. The atmosphere of the entire summit was pushed to the peak. No one noticed, in a corner, a sinister middle-aged man was hiding. A black robe tightly wrapped around his body, a gloomy hood covered his entire face. It was Yi Xiong himself. Yi Xiong pretended to leave the guild, but in reality, he had secretly come back to investigate. With one look, his heart was filled with fear. The existence of Miracle Commerce threatened the position of Wolf Fang Commerce, and even threatened the entire mercenary group, and even the Ye family's position. Yi Xiong was very clear on Meng Qingwu's ability. She had external talent, was good at strategizing, good at management, but lacked internal talent. It was impossible for her to invent electric lights, magic pots, not to mention talismans and pills. Could it also be Chu Tian? It was becoming more and more difficult to see through him. Yi Xiong's gaze was like a wolf hiding in the forest, flashing an extremely dangerous light. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Poison. Assassination. No matter what, he had to get rid of him as soon as possible. Nangong Yi was a very troublesome fellow, directly killing him would not be easy. It is impossible for a person to appear out of thin air. Yi Xiong pondered for a moment, then ordered the people beside him, let all the intelligence departments investigate Chu Tian. I want to know his exact origin. Birth, origin, experience, what relatives he has, where he has lived. Within 2 days, you must find out everything for me. Yes. Miracle Commerce's speech had already ended. Yi Xiong was also not interested in watching anymore, only leaving behind a black, cloaked figure, he silently walked into the dark corridor. Chapter 40. In the middle of the night, the Meng clan was brightly lit and the table was filled with sumptuous food and wine. Everyone did well. For the commerce. Cheers. Chu Tian, Meng Qingwu, Meng Yingying, Nangong Yun, Xiong Yan, Zhang Liqing, men and women, young and old, all raised their cups in celebration. Zhang Liqing sat among them, he was undoubtedly an exception. A noble scholar with clean sleeves, he was someone who disdained to engage in commercial activities to avoid being tainted by the stench of money and tarnishing his reputation. But this time, he did not hesitate to openly join Nanyun Commerce. Why was he an exception? Was it to repay the kindness of saving his life? No, perhaps there was this reason, but it was not the main reason. Zhang Liqing's vision was extremely accurate, he had already keenly discovered that there was something different about Chu Tian. It was a kind of ambition, it was a kind of fantasy, it was a kind of spirit, it was a kind of stubbornness. Under the youthful appearance, there was an outstanding and advanced heart beating. Under the frivolous personality, there was a deep and intelligent soul. The moment the miracle ship set sail, it was destined not to be a plaything, it was filled with ideals, ambitions, and feelings. But what kind of mentality did Chu Tian have when he created it? Just how far could this ship go? It really made people look forward to it. Zhang Liqing was already over 70 years old, he had already reached the twilight years of his life, but he had never felt so young before. The newly born Miracle Commerce was facing a dangerous situation, it was also the time when he was needed the most. If he retreated this time, he was afraid that he would regret it for the rest of his life. The summit meeting went through several twists and turns, but in the end, it ended perfectly. The first step in our success is all thanks to you, Meng Qinggu personally gave a toast to Chu Tian. On behalf of all the partners, I will first give you a toast. Young miss is too polite. If you say it like this, I will become arrogant, Chu Tian happily said. Actually, it is not all my credit, at most it is 99%. Everyone burst into laughter. This fellow really didn't know what modesty was. Meng Yingying took a sip of red wine and stared at Chu Tian with her black eyes. There was a hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. This guy is a little bad, a little arrogant, and a little frivolous. But with him by my side, it seems that nothing is difficult. As long as he was by her side, she felt very safe. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 dishes, everyone enjoyed themselves to the fullest. Meng Qinggu wasn't paralyzed by alcohol. Her mind was clear as she said, "Everyone, the smooth birth of the Chamber of Commerce is certainly worth celebrating, but this is only the first step. We must not be careless. Now, I will talk a little about a few problems that need to be solved. First, the factory that produces electric lights is not complete yet. Secondly, the restaurant is still in preparation and needs to open as soon as possible. Thirdly, the structure of our Chamber of Commerce is in a mess. From the management to the production line, we lack manpower, money, and materials. There's almost nothing we don't lack. We need to solve this problem as soon as possible." Meng Qingwu's words. Everyone calmed down. The Chamber of Commerce's infrastructure was weak and it was unable to form a strong enough production line. It was fine if they lacked money, but the most troublesome thing was that they lacked manpower. It wasn't that they couldn't recruit people, but it was difficult to recruit people that they could trust. Chu Tian didn't feel it was difficult. You can't become fat in one bite. The Chamber of Commerce was still in its early stages and couldn't take care of everything. This was only a matter of time and it would be solved sooner or later. Chu Tian asked, "Is there anything else that's difficult?" "I'm afraid it's the product itself." Meng Qingwu's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. The source energy electric light needs source energy to be activated. Every 5 minutes of source energy should be enough to maintain the light for around an hour. But of the 3 million people in South Sky City, only 200,000 have source energy cultivators. This means that ordinary people still can't use the electric light. For Meng Qingwu to be able to recognize this point, Chu Tian felt quite satisfied. Meng Yingying suddenly had an idea and immediately raised her small white hand. Meng Qingwu saw her little sister's positive reaction and showed a gratified smile. She warmly asked, "Yingying, what do you want to say?" I have an idea." Meng Yingying's little face was slightly red as she nervously clenched her fists. She then glanced at Chu Tian and stammered, "We can open up a charging station and hire cultivators to work. They can charge the lights of ordinary people. This way, the problem will be solved." Xiong Yan hurriedly said, "Teacher is right. If we can charge for charging like this, wouldn't we be able to earn a lot of money? The Chamber of Commerce is so short of money, this is a good idea." Meng Qingwu lightly shook her head, not agreeing with this idea. Chu Tian answered the specific reason for her, "Our electric light selling points are cheap, convenient, safe, and practical. If we do this, we'll lose the core advantage. It's better to light candles." Meng Yingying's small face fell and revealed a disappointed expression. Chu Tian comforted the little girl, "Your idea is actually quite good. It's just that when you apply it to electric lights, your thinking isn't quite right." Meng Yingying smiled sweetly and didn't mind. Chu Tian continued, "I've thought about the solution a long time ago. I'm going to develop a kind of cheap solid energy that can be used for a long time, or develop a solar energy charging array. This way, we can solve the electric light's energy problem." Meng Qingwu's eyes lit up. "Can it be done?" Chu Tian was full of confidence. "What? You don't believe me? Your job is to build and manage the Chamber of Commerce. You don't need to worry about technical problems. With me around, everything will be fine." Although Chu Tian was conceited and arrogant, he was still quite reliable. Meng Qinggu felt as if she had just eaten a tranquilizer. The biggest problem was solved. A servant hurriedly ran in and presented a letter, an invitation from the mayor's mansion. Sir Chu Tian is invited to attend the year-end handover ceremony of the resource site tomorrow. Chu Tian was at a loss when he heard this. Division ceremony? This summit competition is held for the division of land. Nan Gongyun looked at him with a strange expression. You don't even know this and you're going to attend the summit? He really didn't know. So the summit competition had such an important meaning? However, it wasn't a bad thing. Chu Tian accepted the invitation with peace of mind. Let me tell you, that guy is very sneaky. You have to be careful. Nan Gongyun was not very assured with Chu Tian. Remember, don't accept any benefits. He never does anything without benefits. The more generous he is, the more it means that he wants to take advantage of you. As for things like investments, you can just kick him away and piss that old ghost off. Who asked him to not give me money in the beginning? Miss Nangong was indeed incomparably valiant. However, Chu Tian remembered her words. Meng Qinggu stood up and said, "It's getting late. Let's call it a day. Go back and rest." Everyone was a little tired. They immediately dispersed to rest. Chu Tian had long since stopped living in a small house. Now, he moved into a small house with 2 entrances. It was quiet and comfortable, suitable for cultivation and research. Inside the small house, it was quiet and a cool breeze blew against his face. Chu Tian took a breath of the cool air. His brain gradually cooled down. He raised his head and looked at the night sky. His dark eyes reflected the starlight and his gaze was a little dazed. The dark sky was filled with stars. 30,000 years ago, 30,000 years later, this starry sky had never changed since ancient times. However, under the starry sky, all living beings rose and fell, alternating with each other, forming an endless cycle until the day the world was destroyed. History, to bystanders, was a pale description. But to those who experienced it, it was a life of flesh and blood. In any case, Chu Tian could really feel it. No matter how beautiful you were. No matter how talented you were. What was the use? You were just a grain of sand in the long river of history. Meng Qinggu, Meng Yingying, Nan Gongyun and so on, all of them were vivid figures. Thousands of years later, who would still know that they existed? Emperors and hegemons roamed the world. Looking down on the world, they only caused a small wave. Painstakingly cultivating, fighting for fame and fortune, in the end, they still turned to dust. If you think like that, then living a life is quite boring. Chu Tian had crossed 2 different spaces, a whole 30,000 years apart. He had experienced the vicissitudes of life. He could not help but have some strange and crazy thoughts. For example, could living beings live forever? In history, the maximum lifespan of the human race was more than 1,000 years. This was the limit of mortals. It was said that beyond this limit was the realm of gods. Then, could mortals break through the limit? Yes. They definitely could. 30,000 years later, the continent's radical scholars believed that the knowledge and wisdom that humans currently possessed was enough to challenge the limit. The continent's youngest great sage, Chu Tian, happened to be a member of the radical scholars. For the sake of debating this topic, Chu Tian had no lack of bickering with those stubborn old men. However, although that civilization was extremely prosperous, the continent's resources were severely depleted. They could only stay in theory and had no way to put it into practice. Finally, Chu Tian did not need to argue anymore. Miracle commerce would be the stepping stone for Chu Tian to realize his ambition. Miracle commerce was not only the miracle of this era. It would also become Chu Tian's miracle. Grasping knowledge and wisdom from 30,000 years ago, as well as the abundant spiritual energy and natural resources of 30,000 years ago, this was an advantage that no one had ever had. If he did not grasp it well, wouldn't it be a waste? Chu Tian was not a person who was content with his lot, so he wanted to give it a try. He wanted to challenge the limits of humanity. He wanted to explore the realm of gods. Would he succeed? He did not know. There was no precedent in history. However, to a person like him, success or failure did not matter. It was better to fight against the heavens than to fight against humans. The process of fighting was endless joy, wasn't it? Everyone needed to have their own dreams, or they would lose their way on the road of cultivation. Chu Tian's dream was to surpass the limits of mortals. He wanted to see, for thousands of years, what the world that he had been dreaming of was like. Chu Tian was still too weak. Becoming stronger was the most important thing now. Although there were many ways, Chu Tian had grasped 30,000 years of wisdom. As long as he had enough money and resources, Chu Tian was confident that he could smash an idiot like Meng Yingying into the top expert of the continent. The problem was that he did not have money and resources. What was the use of this knowledge? Would he dare to take it out and sell it? A man's wealth is his own ruin. Even ordinary people understood this, so how could Chu Tian not understand? Currently, he had only revealed 1 in a million, but it had already attracted the attention of the Ye family. They almost used a conspiracy to control Chu Tian, making him never see the light of day, and use him as a walking dictionary. Chu Tian did not have a strong enough force to protect him, so he could not take out too much knowledge to avoid attracting the attention of some top forces. This time, he had established the Chamber of Commerce with a bang for no other reason. Chu Tian needed a force of his own. Not only could it provide him with protection, but it would also be a good foundation and preparation for him to plunder resources and make money in the future. In this way, not only would he be able to achieve his goals, but he would also be able to establish his career and influence. He would also be able to experience the joy of teaching this era and changing this world. Why not? Just thinking about it made him feel fulfilled. Chu Tian's heart was filled with pride, and his sleepiness was gone. He immediately went back to his room, found a milky white pill, and swallowed it. Soul-gathering pill, this was refined from the spirit medicine in the cave, and it was also the last pill. Chu Tian felt the spirit energy in his meridians become stronger and stronger, like a monkey. He jumped into the small courtyard, and began to stretch his muscles, practicing a set of fist techniques. Punches like spears. Palms like knives. Every move was filled with elegance and charm. After a few hours, Chu Tian's body gradually heated up, and his pores emitted a white mist of spirit energy. He did not feel the slightest bit tired, but instead became more and more energetic. Ha! Chu Tian suddenly shouted. An exuberant aura of origin energy gushed out from his body and suddenly transformed into small white cyclones around him. Chu Tian's aura suddenly increased by 30 to 40%. As expected. Yet another breakthrough. From the peak of the 6th rank of body refinement to the 7th rank of body refinement. The entire process only took half a month. From the 1st rank to the 7th rank, it could be said to be a miraculous speed. Although he had a breakthrough, he was not too happy. The spirit medicine in the cave was finished, and there was still a big gap from the awakened soul realm, and there was less than 2 months left. Chu Tian was clear, with this body's current aptitude, to rely on solid cultivation to become an awakened soul cultivator in less than 2 months. Dream on. Without 5 to 8 years of hard work, don't even think about it. Although this body had soaked in the spirit spring, and its aptitude had improved, at most it could be considered a genius in this small place. If it was taken to the whole continent, it would not even be worth a fart. The Ye family, the Du family, and especially Yi Xiong, would not let him go. No one could guess what kind of sinister methods these grandsons would use next. Yi Xiong and Du Zhentian, to be able to become overlords, were not ordinary people. But the fortuitous encounter in the blood-patterned flood python's cave was difficult to replicate, and he could not encounter this kind of good thing every time he went out, right? In the end, he was still short of money. Chu Tian could not sit still and wait for death, so he had to make money as soon as possible. First, He had to collect a large amount of resources, and throw his cultivation into the 9th body refinement layer. As long as he could awaken a trace of his spirit, Chu Tian was confident that an ordinary first layer awakened soul cultivator would not be able to deal with him. However, in the end, a long night is fraught with dreams. Before Chu Tian could grow to the point where he could directly confront Yi Xiong, he would face the danger of being killed at any time. He still needed the protection of Zhang Liqing, Xiong Bing, and Nangong Yi. Especially Nangong Yi, although he did not have a deep foundation in Tiannan City, he was still the city lord, and his position and power were the highest. This was also the reason why Chu Tian wanted to show his mind eye at the summit. The Nangong family was one of the 3 great families in the kingdom. It was impossible for Nangong Yi not to see through the mind eye. If he saw through the mind eye, it was impossible for him not to value Chu Tian. But there was a limit to how much he valued Chu Tian. Yi Xiong would not make a move for now, but once he made a move, it would be as powerful as a thunderbolt. He even had the confidence to make Nangong Yi retreat. In order for Nangong Yi to protect Chu Tian, it was hard to say how much he was willing to pay. The mayor was the only person in Tiannan City that could protect Miracle Commerce. If Miracle Commerce wanted to start steadily, there was only one way, and that was to find a way to pull him onto the chariot. Letting the mayor's daughter, Nangong Yun, join them, from a certain point of view, was for this purpose. This was not enough. Chu Tian had to do something to strengthen the mayor's confidence in him. No matter what happened in the future, the mayor could stand by his side without hesitation. Calculating the time, the sun was about to rise. Chu Tian stopped thinking. There was always a way. First he would go and meet the mayor, Nangong Yi. Chapter 41. Early in the morning, a majestic bronze bull carriage appeared at the entrance. 100 or so mayor's palace guards dressed in heavy armor, like 2 neat rows of tin cans, stood at the entrance to welcome Chu Tian out. Sending a carriage and sending an escort team. The mayor's sincerity was quite high. The distribution of several territories should not have much to do with the mayor. But now the mayor not only personally received him, but also sent a luxurious lineup to welcome him. His intention to curry favor with Chu Tian was obvious. Of course, it was hard to guarantee that there were no ulterior motives. But for a small citizen to receive the mayor's attention, no matter how you looked at it, it was a glorious thing. Chu Tian was not nervous at all. Going up a mountain of swords to get back 2 tails of iron, going down a frying pan without forgetting to bring a bar of soap to bathe, this was his usual style. The word fear could not be found in his dictionary. Chu Tian straightforwardly sat in the majestic large beast carriage, escorted by 100 or so guards to the outskirts of the city. Nangong Yi walked over. President Chu Tian, you've come. Wine-red long-sleeved formal attire, the appearance was straight, the lines were smooth, the outside was tied with a large white cloak, and on his head was a white velvet hat. Paired with his upright and resolute face, with a bit of beard, his entire body was filled with a noble aura. I've made the mayor wait for a long time. Chu Tian walked up to the 2-meter-tall body and patted the bronze barbaric bull's skin that was as hard as iron and stone. He clicked his tongue in praise. The mayor is the mayor, even the carriage is different. This bronze bull's battle strength, I'm afraid it's equivalent to a cultivator at the 7th or 8th layer of body refinement. Its defensive ability is comparable to a 9th layer body refinement demon beast. Nangong Yi's eyes flashed, and he immediately smiled and said, this carriage comes from Imperial City, the bronze bull has been professionally tamed, absolutely obeying the master's orders. It has tyrannical endurance, good battle strength, can pull a carriage, and can also be an escort. Among all the carriages in Tiannan City, this carriage can at least be ranked in the top 10. A carriage from Imperial City? It was definitely a high-end brand. Nangong Yi continued to introduce, the carriage is 10 feet high and 8 feet wide. The interior is cast from cold iron and the exterior is wrapped in fire copper. The carvings are exquisite and the construction is perfect. While traveling, you will not feel any bumps. It has a strong defensive ability and can withstand the attacks of cultivators below the awakened soul realm, thus ensuring the safety of the master. Chu Tian nodded. Good, good. Nangong Yi observed the changes in Chu Tian's expression. Without warning, he said, "This is our first official meeting, so I didn't prepare any gifts. If you like the bronze barbaric ox carriage, I'll give it to you as a meeting gift." How about that? No way, so generous. Those who are unaccountably solicitous are hiding evil intentions. The city lord was a shrewd old fox. He would not give it away for no reason. Chu Tian pretended to be bashful and said, "How could I do that?" Nangong Yi smiled faintly and said, "There are a few more in the city lord's mansion, I don't mind giving you one. Besides, you've made a lot of enemies. My informant brought back information that Yi Xiong has started to secretly investigate you." Investigate? Ha! What do I have to investigate? I don't know about that, but Yi Xiong has sent several groups of people to Central State. I don't know what kind of conspiracy he's brewing. Chu Tian's sword-like eyebrows twisted. There's such a thing. Don't worry too much. Although the Ye family is very powerful, South Sky City is only a small territory. They still have to give me face. Nangong Yi put on a very righteous posture. But it's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but it's hard to guard against a hidden arrow. The safety of the bronze barbaric ox carriage is more than enough to deal with a sneak attack. You need it more than I do. Chu Tian did not refuse this time. All right, since the city lord is so kind, then I'll be unreasonable if I refuse again. Many thanks to the city lord for the carriage. Nangong Yun's warning was thrown to the back of his mind. Chu Tian did not care about any schemes. How could a man not have a good carriage? In South Sky City, this bronze barbaric ox carriage was a very high-grade item. Driving it on the streets would definitely be very eye-catching. Nangong Yi secretly nodded. The city lord's gift was accepted without batting an eyelid. Moreover, he accepted it with a clear conscience. It was as if it was a gift from a son to his father. This little brat's skin is really thick. He will definitely become a great person in the future. The bronze barbaric ox carriage was not a high-grade item in Royal City. It was bought for 10,000 gold coins. In a place like South Sky City, even if you had the money, you wouldn't be able to buy it. The price would at least double. Nangong Yi's heart was bleeding, but his expression did not change. He cheerfully said, "You are the champion of the competition. You can monopolize the rights to mine 4 mines for a year. In addition, the rights to use the forest and spirit fields will also belong to you. The time limit is also 1 year." Chu Tian was a little hesitant. Nangong Yi's eyes were sharp. He instantly saw through Chu Tian's thoughts. You can also transfer the rights to another family. This way, you can earn a transfer fee and save time and effort. What do you think? He understood. This old fox had his eyes on these big pieces of meat. Miracle Commerce was a newly established company. They did not have enough people. How could they find a group of miners and farmers to mine the land? Even if they found a group of miners and farmers, would Miracle Commerce be able to mine the resources in peace? Don't be stupid. With the resource allocation agreement, the Ye family and Du family would not dare cause trouble in the open. But they would definitely play dirty tricks behind the scenes. Miracle Commerce had just been established. They needed to concentrate on their work. They did not have the energy to deal with these things. The profits from the mines, spirit fields, and forest were not small. Now other than the city lord's palace, no one dared to take this hot potato. Chu Tian remained calm. I'm not dead yet. I'll go take a look first. All right, this city lord will introduce them to you. The city lord's heart was very depressed. This sly fellow. I've given you the benefits and the hint is so obvious. You're still pretending to be stupid. There were a total of 4 mines. 1 crystal mine and 3 metal mines. The crystal mine was the most valuable. It could produce level 1 fire crystals. Its value surpassed the sum of the other 3 mines. The forest and spirit fields were also not bad. The forest was a very ideal hunting area. It had a large area. Not only could it be used for hunting, it could also be used for grazing. There were often wild spirit herbs and spirit herbs. As for the spirit fields, there was no need to talk about them. All the land in the city had been cleared and could be used to grow herbs. It was really rich. No wonder the large families were fighting so hard for it. But although the resource fields were attractive, Miracle Commerce did not have the ability to mine them. Because there was no other choice, Nangongyi had him. How could this work? Chu Tian had a free and easy personality. He did not care about the gains and losses. But he was not someone who was willing to be ripped off. He might as well drag it out and whet Nangongyi's appetite. If he took the initiative to open his mouth, then the initiative would fall into Chu Tian's hands. Chu Tian would be able to obtain even more benefits. But Nangongyi was not an ordinary person. How could he not know the secret? Although he wanted it, he did not open his mouth. He even pretended to be indifferent. He pretended to be enthusiastic as he brought Chu Tian around. This was a genius youth who had comprehended the profound meaning of the mind's eye. He definitely could not become enemies with him. From the beginning, Nangongyi had never thought of using threats or promises. Getting these resources from his hands was a good thing. If he really did not want to hand them over, then Nangongyi would not do anything to him. The two of them wandered around like this for several hours. Suddenly, a mine that was different from the others appeared in front of them. There were no miners in this mine. Instead, it was surrounded by soldiers. If one did not look carefully, they would think it was a military camp in the wilderness. Chu Tian asked curiously, "What's with this mine?" Nangongyi replied, "Oh, you mean it? This is a liquid crystal mine. It's not worth much. It is controlled by the mayor's palace. They are mainly afraid of demon beasts or criminals breaking in. After all, liquid crystal is a very dangerous thing. If it causes a big explosion, South Sky City will be greatly affected." Chu Tian's eyes lit up. Liquid crystal. It's crystal oil. That's right, it's this thing. Let's go in and take a look. The two of them walked into the mine. The mine's mining equipment was very simple. It didn't even need any mining equipment. After walking into the mine, there was a small cliff. The cliff was about 10 meters tall and there was a bright white object at the bottom. The bright white object was not a solid. It was a kind of low-viscosity gelatinous liquid. The color was very pure and there were almost no impurities. It flowed at an extremely slow speed, forming a small lake. It was like a white mirror placed in the cave. Chu Tian's eyes flashed with a hint of uncontrollable surprise. Is this crystal oil mine completely controlled by the mayor's palace? Strange. What's wrong with this brat? Crystal oil was an extremely cheap resource and very few people used it. The supply of crystal oil far exceeded the demand, which led to many crystal oil mines with abundant reserves that almost no one cared about. Just the central state city alone had a lot of crystal oil mines that were idle. How could this brat be interested in this thing? The mayor nodded, "That's right. I want this crystal oil mine." Chu Tian quickly calmed himself down and resolutely said, "I'll trade the mine, the forest, and the spirit fields for this year." Nangongyi staggered and almost fell. "You? What did you say? You want this broken crystal oil mine?" Chu Tian nodded and said, "I have a condition. The mayor must send guards to assist Miracle Commerce in mining. Can you accept this?" Did this brat's brain go haywire? This world really had good things like meat pies falling from the sky. It's a deal. It's a deal. Nangongyi was secretly delighted. He chuckled and said, "I won't hide it from you, South Sky City's oil mine is very rich. In the entire central state, you won't be able to find two that can compare. Although the price of crystal oil is not high, it's rich in reserves. After all, Miracle Commerce is unable to mine these resources for a year. In comparison, this crystal oil mine is a permanent mining right. You can wait for the conditions to mature and mine for 10 or 20 years. Who knows, you might even earn more. When Nangongyi said this, he did not believe it himself. Mining for oil to make money? Only ghosts would believe it. A broken crystal oil mine in exchange for so many high-quality resources, it was really a good deal. The reason the mayor thought this way was because crystal oil was extremely unstable. If it was violently shaken or mixed with other substances, it would immediately explode. So far, other than a few dangerous weapons that could use crystal oil, there were no other uses for crystal oil. Although this crystal oil mine was not small, no one had ever fought for it. It had always been in the hands of the mayor and the mayor had never seriously mined it. This thing could not be sold. If it was dug up and stored in the city, it would become a ticking time bomb. If one day it went out of control, it would be a terrible thing. How could Chu Tian not know what the mayor was thinking? This idiot. Chu Tian's eyes revealed a trace of pity. Crystal oil, also known as liquid crystal, was not a real crystal stone. It was not even an ordinary mineral, but a kind of microorganism. This kind of microorganism was found in large amounts in crystal ores and mainly fed on crystal ores. After the microorganism died, a large amount of it would precipitate in the rock layer. Under a specific environment, after billions of years of evolution, it would eventually become the precious crystal oil. In the history of the continent, crystal oil had played an important role. It was the fuel of civilization, the blood of science and technology, the foundation of industry, the master of war, and the backing of a country's power. 20,000 years later, wherever there was intelligent life, crystal oil had already been mined out. This kind of resource had become an extremely rare and precious resource on the continent. Countries often fought over a single crystal oil mine, resulting in tragic wars and killings. In the era that Chu Tian lived in, the crystal oil on the continent had basically been completely exhausted. People had no choice but to use the extraterrestrial and planar mines to obtain energy at a very high price. They could only reminisce about the past golden age in endless regret. Now, crystal oil was cheaper than iron ore. Crystal oil was divided into 3 grades. The first grade was gold, the second was silver, and the third was white. This was the lowest grade white oil mine. Now it was almost worthless. But in 10,000 years or so, this oil mine's value would be enough to buy a few states' worth of fertile land with more than enough. Oil mine in hand. Miracle Commerce was like the heavens helping him. Chu Tian suppressed the excitement in his heart and immediately said to Nangongyi, "First, help me get a bottle of oil back. I want to carefully study it." Nangongyi hurriedly advised, "The crystal oil is very unstable after leaving the mine. The slightest vibration or penetration will immediately cause a terrifying explosion. Unless it's a professional, no one would dare to touch it. Don't be reckless." Chu Tian said, "I know what I'm doing. Let's hurry back to the city and sign the resource exchange agreement. Those resource sites will all belong to the city lord's mansion." Nangongyi suddenly felt as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Wasn't it just a bottle of oil? Let him bring it back. In any case, with me watching over it, there shouldn't be any big problems. Let's hurry up and sign the agreement. Chapter 42. Mayor's Palace. The two of them signed a resource exchange contract. The moment the contract was completed, Nangongyi believed it was true. How could there be such a stupid idiot in this world? Exchanging a pile of high-quality resources for a broken oil mine. The mayor asked himself if he was pressuring him, but this little brat willingly took it out. Of course, the mayor could not contain his joy. Perhaps even in his dreams, he would never have thought that 1 year later, he would beat his chest and stamp his feet in frustration. While the mayor was secretly delighted, Chu Tian picked up a pen and paper and wrote a long paragraph. This was a dozen recipes that Chu Tian had written down. Mayor, can you help me take a look at these recipes? Which of the ingredients can be found in South Sky City? I need them urgently. The ingredients were actually very common. However, South Sky City was a small place with poor resources. Writing a bit more was just a bit of insurance. I haven't seen most of them, but South Sky City has all the ingredients listed in the 8th recipe. Nangong-yi thought that it was convenient to pick up some shit and straightforwardly said, the mayor's palace has them in stock. If you need them urgently, I'll have someone send them over. Chu Tian's heart moved and he suddenly thought of something. Okay, then I'll have to trouble the mayor. That's great. With the ingredients, he could refine the crystal oil. This was indeed an era of abundant resources. If this kind of treasure was not sought after, then how many important natural resources were there that people did not know about? With Chu Tian's foresight, he would definitely be ahead of everyone else and take all the rare resources of the continent for himself. Then he would create an everlasting glorious history. Nangong-yi carefully looked at the list of ingredients: blue crystal sand, crystal dust, moonlight grass, red coral juice, a strong dissolving agent. Strange, blue crystal sand and crystal dust are refining materials. Blue crystal sand can greatly increase the sharpness of weapons, crystal dust can increase the strength of weapons, moonlight grass is an alchemy material, and red coral juice is a talisman material. How could these materials be used together? It doesn't look like refining weapons or alchemy. Chu Tian didn't expect Nangong-yi to know so much about materials. It seems that the city lord has a wide range of knowledge. Nangong-yi said bluntly, I've studied refining before, but I don't dare say I'm very skilled. I'm quite famous in Imperial City. These words sounded humble on the surface, but in fact, they were not. What kind of place was Royal City? Since he dared to say that he had some fame in Imperial City, he might as well just say that he was number 1 in South Sky City. Chu Tian was a little curious about the refining technology of this era. He asked thoughtfully, does the city lord have any works? Let me broaden my horizons. Nangong-yi took out a short sword from his waist. This sword was only 2.5 feet in length. It was entirely scarlet red, and the blade was curved like a poisonous snake. It was smooth and sharp, and there were some symbols engraved on it. I made this flaming serpent sword myself. This sword was Nangong-yi's proudest work. How could a country bumpkin like him have ever seen such a masterpiece? Chu Tian was shocked on the spot, then he bowed his head. The city lord wouldn't last long. Who would have thought that Chu Tian would lightly say, it's all right. What do you mean it's all right? Do you even have eyes? Nangong-yi's brows wrinkled. Could it be that President Chu Tian also knows how to refine weapons? I've dabbled a little, but I can see a few problems. Chu Tian took the flaming serpent sword and slowly closed his eyes. His fingers lightly brushed the blade of the flaming serpent sword. An invisible wave slowly spread out. Mind's eye. He once again had the mind's eye. Nangong-yi was so excited that he couldn't help but take a step back. Nangong-yi knew that the mind's eye could see through people's minds. It wasn't mind reading, but it could distinguish evil thoughts, good thoughts, happiness, anger, sorrow, joy, etc. The city lord had just used a worthless oil mine to exchange for so many resources. Now he had a guilty conscience. His fingers lightly brushed the back of the sword. Chu Tian opened his eyes. Taking the volcano crystal as the core, forging the body with the red veined steel, refining it for 49 days, using the flame lizard's blood, the raging flame beast's scales, sealing the scarlet flame snake's soul, and adding 3 arrays, they are, not a single mistake. Not a single mistake. This was too shocking. The city lord muttered to himself, the legends are indeed true. Once the mind's eye is opened, everything can be seen. Spirit, matter, energy, nothing can escape the mind's eye. Terrifying. This kind of power could see through the enemy's flaws and thoughts in battle, allowing him to gain the upper hand. This kind of ability could be used to find treasures. Some treasures looked plain and unadorned, normal people couldn't identify them, but they couldn't escape the mind's eye. Nangong-yi was envious and jealous. This kid wasn't even 18 years old. How could he have this kind of abnormal ability? Chu Tian calmly smiled, pretending to be mysterious and said, "The mind's eye is not mysterious, it's just a very ordinary ability. Can't you stop pretending? You're just showing off. You want to anger this city lord to death." Nangong-yi smiled bitterly. President Chu Tian really knows how to joke. How many people in the entire kingdom have the mind's eye? This kingdom is too small. Chu Tian paused, then slowly explained, whether it's hyperfocus or the mind's eye, they are all abilities produced from the spirit and consciousness, commonly known as divine sense. As a member of the Nangong family, Nangong-yi was experienced and knowledgeable, but this was the first time he had heard of such a thing, divine sense. Can you tell me the specifics? Divine sense and strength aren't directly related, but there are high and low realms. Chu Tian paused, then continued, the first realm is the so-called hyperfocus, it only distributes the divine sense to the organs, thus strengthening the sensory abilities. The second realm is the so-called mind's eye. At this time, the spirit and consciousness can separate from the body, using an ability that surpasses the senses of the body to sense matter, ability, and even spiritual changes. This young man was truly unfathomable. In just a few words, he had opened up an unheard of and unknown domain. Nangong-yi revealed a dazed expression. Could it be that there is a higher level of divine sense than the mind's eye? Chu Tian nodded his head and said, "Of course there is. Once a true expert's divine sense is released, within 1,000 feet, every flower, every grass, every insect, every ant, can be seen. Ghosts, evil spirits, demons, all have nowhere to hide. When one reaches an even higher realm, the divine sense can leave the body and travel thousands of miles, coming and going freely. What's more, it can turn into physical energy, control the thoughts of others, and even kill people with a single thought. The legendary highest realm. With a single thought, flowers bloom, with a single thought, like a deity. That legendary highest realm, even Chu Tian hadn't reached it. That was a realm in theory, perhaps it had already surpassed the limits of mortals. Nangong-yi was a bit dazed. He had never heard of this before. The human body actually contained this kind of ability. What realm has your divine sense reached? Ha, the city lord thinks too highly of me. Although this divine sense is not directly related to cultivation, it is indeed directly affected by mental strength. My low cultivation limits the growth of my mental strength. Although I can open the mind's eye, it is still very difficult and can only be used for a short period of time. This was really unbelievable. Chu Tian's words were like a fantasy story. Nangong-yi had a strong intuition that this person's words were not fake. For the first time, Nangong-yi realized how big this world was, and how small he was. From this guy's tone, increasing divine sense was as easy as drinking plain water. The reason why he could only open the mind's eye was because his strength was too low. Chu Tian sighed and said, on the path of refining, divine sense is especially important. Forgive me for speaking bluntly, but if you don't even have the subtlety realm, even if you have talent, it will be difficult to achieve great success. Saying this, Chu Tian returned the flaming serpent sword to Nangong-yi. I feel that the flaming serpent's soul within the flaming serpent sword is very weak. I suggest that you prepare some soul-nurturing grass and nourish it for a month or two. The sword's power will definitely double. Nangong-yi's expression became complicated. He hesitated for a few seconds and said, I have a request. Chu Tian pretended to be surprised. What does the city lord need from this one? Nangong-yi cupped his hands towards Chu Tian. Can you teach me how to cultivate divine sense? Chu Tian smiled and said, divine sense is different from elemental energy, there is no specific technique to cultivate. Mental and spiritual things are deep and ethereal, mainly relying on personal comprehension and transformation. Once you comprehend it, you can create something out of nothing. Actually, there were techniques to cultivate divine sense. However, these techniques were too difficult and could not be cultivated with Southern Xia's resources. Chu Tian had other plans and was not prepared to reveal these. Sigh, if that's the case. I'm not fated. Chu Tian saw Nangong Yi's dejected face and said, the city lord does not need to belittle yourself, your talent is not bad, what you lack is a bit of luck. Luck? Everyone lacked luck. Being born required luck, cultivation required luck, fortuitous encounters required luck, who did not lack luck? Chu Tian suddenly changed the topic, I may be able to provide a technique that can temper one's mental power. Although it cannot directly cultivate divine sense, it can be of some assistance. I believe that people with good comprehension, as long as they persevere for a period of time, reaching the minute subtlety realm will not be a problem. Nangong Yi revealed a look of ecstasy, really? Chu Tian's eyes flashed a trace of craftiness, however, City Lord, this method is not ready-made and I have not taught it to anyone, so I will need a long time to organize my thoughts and summarize my experience. Only then can I write it out. How long do you need? About a month. Nangong Yi was very anxious, so long. Chu Tian said seriously, mental training is not a trivial matter. If something goes wrong, there will be endless consequences. If it's light, you will become disabled or insane. If it's heavy, you will die. I must not be careless, I must organize my thoughts. This kid is half lying. He definitely has this method. Nangong Yi firmly believed this. But, does he really need a month? Probably not. This brat is delaying on purpose so that I can protect him at all costs in this 1 month's time. The temptation is too great. This is a technique that can assist in cultivating divine sense, its value is probably even more precious than the Nangong family's ancestral technique, burning the heavens technique. Because no matter how strong burning the heavens technique is, it is still a technique with astonishing destructive power. The kingdom does not lack such techniques, and the continent does not lack them. Chu Tian's mental training technique is indeed a rare commodity. Not to mention the kingdom does not have it, it would be difficult to find it in other countries. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Nangong Yi to not know about it. Good. More haste makes waste. 1 month it is. If this method really works, my Nangong family will thank you. Chu Tian did not change his expression, revealing a proud smile. His goal has been achieved. No matter what the Ye family's plot, the mayor will protect him even if he has to sacrifice his life. Unless the Ye family's methods are so strong that even the mayor cannot protect him, Chu Tian is safe. As for 1 month later, there is nothing to worry about. As long as everything goes smoothly, Chu Tian will most likely be awake by then. At this time, a servant came in pushing a cart. Inside were several crystal jars containing blue crystal sand, crystal dust, moonlight grass powder, and red coral juice. The materials have arrived. Chu Tian checked to make sure there were no problems. He carefully moved out the small bucket filled with crystal oil. I want to start an experiment. If the mayor is interested, you can stay and watch. Could it be that this experiment is related to crystal oil? What kind of extremely dangerous substance is crystal oil? Can that thing be touched casually? If something happens to this kid, the mayor will suffer a great loss. Nangong Yi's heart was already itching for the mental training technique. He could not directly prohibit Chu Tian from experimenting, so he simply stayed and watched. Then this mayor will watch President Chu Tian's methods. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.